What do you think discrimination is? Do you think
Discriminate.
discrimination?
Discrimination
Wait, do you
is.
think
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and tell me what I think it is. Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Let me think.
Okay.
Hold on, because I'm trying to be more rhetorically effective 2021. I kind of want to engage with this analogy, but this analogy is actually so patently absurd. So the analogy, if we could be this hypothetical, is you're saying that if there existed some society where arson was something that everybody committed and celebrated, and then this person came to another society and went to commit arson, would it be right to punish that person? I would argue, assuming there's no threat to life, because remember, I treat self-defense of person differently than defense of property. If somebody wanted to walk around and set things on fire, I would agree that it's not okay to punish that person with lethal force. But this analogy is this hypothetical is very extreme and hard to, okay. I just want to caveat with that, but go, okay.
Now it's time to upgrade it a little bit. Say in their commune, they like to blow up their capital. It wasn't like personal. I got that.
Hold on. Oh my God. The analogy was just to explain what it means when I say there are different rules in society. Not that those two things are necessarily analogous. The reason why I used the kissing one is because it was a realistic example, because you rejected the elbow example. But if you want, we can go back to the elbow example, but you said it was ridiculous hypothetical. But a lot of the hypotheticals you're giving are kind of ridiculous. I just gave you a ridiculous one in exchange so you can understand the point that I was trying to make.
My position on autonomy is people do value autonomy. It seemed like in the panel you said people don't value autonomy. Can you explain that real quick?
Sure. I don't know. This is going to be like a very qualitative argument. Like, I don't know how we're going to resolve this. I think we might have to just agree to disagree. But so I think that people think that they value autonomy, and some people might even, because they've been told so much that they should. But I don't think people really do value autonomy, and I don't think they should value autonomy. I think that people generally like autonomy because they use it as a tool to make better choices for themselves. But if the best choices are already made, I don't think somebody would want the autonomy to make a worse decision. That's kind of how I view it.
Yeah, I don't think that's fundamentally true. You can take a look at gambling, for example. We tell people over and over again, you're not going to win with gambling, but people still choose to do it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so things like gambling, I think, prey upon very bad. Have you ever heard of the term operant conditioning?
No.
So there are different ways in which we kind of reinforce behaviors, and I think gambling plays on a very negative way that we reinforce behavior by rewarding you for doing a random, it gives you a random reward for a random amount of actions, and I think that type of learning pattern is just a really addictive pattern for people. It's a mind, a fault of the human mind, I guess.
Right, but even knowing that they're going to lose, they still choose to do it. That just means we value autonomy, right?
Yeah, but that's what I don't agree with that. I don't think most people that gamble go in thinking they're going to lose. I think they go in thinking they're going to win.
Okay. So I know, because I watched some of your videos, because I prepare for my debates. I know that you or one of your friends worked at a casino. You think if you were to survey people before they went to the gambling machines, you think that they're going to turn out a profit? If you were to ask someone before they started gambling,
I think that when you sit down and talk to them, I think they'll say nah, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, they'll say that, but their behavior says otherwise. And I think that because people will develop all these crazy, stupid systems in terms of how they're going to beat the machines and everything. I think that genuinely, I do believe a lot of people do. There's probably some small number of people, I would imagine people that play table games, that go and have fun and they know I'll probably lose, but at least I'll have fun doing it. But I think a lot of people that go to a casino really do think they're going to win. They think that somehow they're going to beat the odds, or they have a system or something. Yeah?
Okay. Well, okay, so here's the thing. I think the notion that autonomy is not important at all, I think that's just based off a feeling. So let me send you this article real quick. So you can, because I actually read the article, Command F, autonomy, Command F quenches. So what they actually found in this article is autonomy supersedes your desire for power. So according to this study, it's on the rankings of what humans desire, it's 1, power, 2, autonomy, and 3, influence. Meaning people actually value autonomy more than influence. So if you isolate each independent variable, the only reason they value influence is because of their autonomy to do decisions. So there's actual data that people do value autonomy. Now here's a question I pose to you. If you were playing a game such as the one you're playing right now, would you rather have a robot pre-select the best skill set, or would you rather have the autonomy to choose your skill set?
Depends on how many choices are available to you. I think that people generally prefer fewer choices than more. So, I mean, it just depends on how many paths or what the choices are.
Okay, say it's like normal amount of choices, just like a pretty good skill set. Look, yeah. Would you, or does it really matter how many choices there are? You would want a robot to predetermine the best outcome for you, because like there's walkthroughs, but no one plays the walkthrough before they play the game.
I mean, there's a lot of people that do that. That'll watch like Let's Plays and everything.
Okay, but
I don't know if like I think okay. So like okay, I'll bridge this a little bit. I think that people like to be able to exert like some influence over their lives. That's what we like to feel, that we could make a choice, or I guess we could say we can have autonomy over particular things. I think that maybe there are people that like that, and maybe even that is real to some extent. I just think that as far as people talk about it, I think that that desire for autonomy is way overstated. And I think that autonomy is way less on the ladder of importance to people than like more fundamental needs. So for instance, somebody would want like basic food, shelter, clothing, like basic education. People would want these things met before they have like quote unquote autonomy, like massive autonomy over their lives, I would say.
But Jesse, none of what you're saying is like contradicting what you're saying. So you're okay. So I'm like, okay, so autonomy is important, and you're like, well, it's not as important as like food. I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with you if you had a choice to like be like either autonomous or actually starve to death. Like,
well, I think so. The reason why I bring this up is because, like, for instance, no, I'm saying conservatives. I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying like conservatives in general will make the argument that like sometimes people need to have the choice to fail, or sometimes autonomy is good even if people fail, because people should be free to make the decisions that make their lives bad or good or whatever. Whereas like I don't agree that most people feel that way. I think that people would probably accept some restriction in their autonomy if it meant like a guarantee of like better outcomes. Is kind of what I mean.
Okay, but I do think, don't you agree with the position that you should have the autonomy to fail?
I mean, we have to really dig into what that statement means.
Okay, so how are you gonna like rail on quote unquote conservatives without knowing what the statement means?
I know what the statement means. I just don't know what you think the statement means. That's why I'm saying we'd have to dig into what that statement means.
Sure. What is it for you?
So, like, in terms of, like, should you have the choice to fail? Well, like, the word choice there is, it can mean a lot of different things. So, like, for instance, like, one could argue that every person chooses to fail, regardless of where you're born. Because theoretically, in the United States, every person could succeed, and they could. That's probably true in the United States. But for reasons, some people choose to be more financially irresponsible, some people choose to deal drugs, some people choose to be violent, et cetera, et cetera. We could argue that those are choices. They are.
Well, if I have, like, my hand on a stove, is it a choice to, like, remove it?
No, but that's not the same type of, like, immediate physical pressure as we're talking otherwise. But that's a good line of questioning, because then what I would pose as a question is like, well, hold on, how free are these choices actually? Because like the choice that somebody might make to do drugs after school is going to be a lot different if say I go to a rich school with lots of sports and after school programs versus somebody that goes to a shitty school with nothing offered after school, right? Like the choices are going to be a lot different. So to return to that question, like should everyone have the choice to fail? I mean, like, I guess kind of, maybe, but it depends on what kind of choices we're talking about. I don't think that before you're like 14, I don't think you should ever have to choose. I don't think there should ever be a major choice where like if you make the wrong choice, you fuck your life up. I don't think that should, probably not even under 18. I don't think that should ever happen. So if we talk about like those types of choices, no. Now in terms of like, should you have the choice to like maybe take on credit card debt or like a student loan or like a mortgage, like these choices are probably okay, because I don't know if they like lead to abject failures easily, but I'm just saying it depends on the types of choices we talk about. I can narrow it if you want, or you can narrow it if you want, and then we can go from there, or if you're satisfied with that.
A couple of things there, a little bit confusing. So the two things I noticed is like, one, why is the age gap significant? Is it just like a pragmatic thing? Because like, why is it like when I'm 17, like I'm smart enough to make my own decisions, but as soon as I'm not smart enough to make my own decision, but when I'm 18, it's suddenly like, how is it more moral for a 17-year-old not to do something than an 18-year-old to do something? Wouldn't you want to base off like how cognitively limited it is? Because there's some 23-year-olds that are dumber than some 17-year-olds, right?
Well, yeah. So ideally, what we would do is we would hook everybody up to a brain scan machine, and then we would like perfectly figure out like their level of rationality. But unfortunately, we can't do that. So we just use age as a proxy. We kind of have to, right?
Okay, sure. So that was on the pragmatic side. Okay, next, I actually, so when you say like, okay, do you think people under 18 shouldn't allowed to have money? Because one mess up with money and you could be messed up for life.
Not generally, because generally, with some very special exceptions, if you're under 18, you can't usually sign contracts. So like you can't get like a credit card or stuff like that.
Okay, should people under the age of 18 never be able to have intercourse? Because that can mess up your life.
It could. Unfortunately,
Okay.
that seems to be something that like you can't really stop or do anything about, and it's kind of like normal developmentally. So then what you do is hopefully arm those people with the tools to mitigate the ability to destroy their lives. So that's why you should start teaching like birth control, contraception, stuff like that at earlier ages.
That just kind of defeats your point of like people under the 18 shouldn't have the ability to destroy their lives, which they should.
Wait, you think
Or,
they should have the ability to destroy their lives under 18?
right. Well, and we're just talking about like morals. So like let's
Wait, yeah,
just,
wait. Okay, wait. Let me ask you a question just testing that, because I think that you agree with me. I don't think you actually agree with that. Do you think that it would be unethical for somebody to offer to sell heroin to fifth graders at recess? They should have the choice whether or not they want to buy it or not.
unethical.
Yeah, should somebody be able to sell heroin to fifth graders at recess if they want to? And then should the fifth graders be able to make the choice of buying it or not?
Give me a second. Probably. I don't think it's ethical to sell heroin.
Why?
Period. I think like the effects of like the dangers of heroin can outweigh any cost, or like heroin strips away your individuality because like there's no test case for heroin. Like
What do you mean
people-
strips away your individuality? Wait,
Well,
real quick,
okay.
I just want to tell you where I'm going with this, okay? So it doesn't feel like I'm trapping you. Because I'm about to ask you a series of questions because it almost sounds like you're saying that you want to get rid of heroin because it strips you of your autonomy. It almost sounds like that's the direction that you're going with. And then I'm going to ask you, well, shouldn't we have the choice to fail like that? Because you said we should have the choice to fail. Well, shouldn't you be able to choose to do heroin and destroy your life? Like, that's where I'm going with this line of questioning. So.
Okay, well, I didn't say you should have the choice to fail always. Of course, like you shouldn't be able to sell like a machine gun to a fifth grader.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's a reasonable point. I agree with you. So the question that I
Okay.
would ask next is, well, when should you be able to choose when to fail? Like, what's the metric? Like, what's the bar there? Like, you should be able to choose to fail in these circumstances, but not these circumstances. Like, what's like the litmus test you have there to figure out when that is?
Okay, sure. If I feel like the freedom of, I mean, this is gonna be super subjective, but for what I feel like the freedom of the individual action outweighs the harm that the society feels. So, for example,
the individual action outweighs
right. For example, I think like AR-15 should be allowed because like the freedom to have like an AR-15 outweighs like the 50 people who like dies from an AR-15. Do you understand?
No, because now I'm gonna ask you, how do you weigh those?
How do I weigh the value of freedom?
Yeah, how do you measure that up?
There's like a lot of things. A lot of conservatives use the Constitution to measure freedom.
Well, I don't think the Constitution is a good thing to go by because we could change that, right?
Sure. Just as a baseline, how would you measure freedom?
I don't really care about it that much. I think that freedom is important insofar as we are able to like do things that make us happy. But that's not like a thing that I attach like a huge value onto. I don't think. I think it's a very. I think traditionally it's a very liberal idea, but I'm just not ultra like married to that concept, I guess.
Gotcha. So in your utopia, people under the age of 18 wouldn't be allowed to have sex?
I think with each other, I think it's fine. I think it's unavoidable, and two, I think it can be practiced in a safe.
In your utopia.
In my
Yep.
my utopia, yeah, of course, kids are gonna fuck each other all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So in your utopia, it's still allowed to have sex. So don't ask about like the moral, like the pragmatics about it. Let's
Wait.
just talk about like.
What? I don't think
said-
that my pragmatic and my utopia are the same there, though. I don't think there's a contradiction there.
Okay. So you said like, oh, it wouldn't be pragmatic to have like people under the age of 18 not because like they're gonna do it anyways. But it sounds like that doesn't matter to you. That was just a red herring because you would still have it in your utopia, right?
Well, yeah, but even in a utopia. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's what
Oh,
we're-
wait. Okay, hold on. If you're talking about like a utopia where I can shift and modify like all human desire and behavior, it'd probably be better if people didn't have sex like ever until they were like 25 or until they were like financially independent and like ready to get married and everything. If that was like the optimal case, that'd probably be the case. It'd probably save a lot of trouble. If I don't
guess
know
like
if utopia you meant like we're modifying like human like desire
right.
and everything too, but
Well, like in like hypotheticals, in like extreme hypotheticals that I deal with, it's just like we don't really care about the pragmatics. We just want to test like people's moral systems. So I guess you're kind of more like a conservative at that point. If you like think like people should only have like the best way to have sex is if you're like financially independent, if you're smart enough, and like you agree to this.
I mean, like in an ideal utopian, well, I mean, you could either run that way in an ideal utopia that people just don't have sex ever until they're 25 and we somehow like changed fundamentally all human desire. But then the other direction you can go is you recognize that there is some level of human desire, but instead of this, in this utopia, you've perfectly educated every person to always have responsible sex. So then people begin having sex whenever they feel those urges, but they always do it with like protection and they do it in a responsible and safe way.
But even if you educate everyone, there's still a possibility that someone can ruin their life.
Yeah, but you just
Like,
said in a utopia. So how utopian are we being?
okay, okay, yeah, sure. That's fair. Okay, I didn't expect you to bite that bullet. Okay, so more on freedom. Okay, so if we just restricted, so your thing about freedom is, okay, so if we just like arbitrarily restricted everyone's right to go to like third world dangerous countries, would you like be allowed with that? Because more people are gonna like die from those countries than they ever are going to like get their vision of sightseeing or something. Like say we like banned like the most like Americans going to the most dangerous place in the world. Would you be okay with that?
Would I be okay with Americans going to the most dangerous place in the world?
No. Banning travel of like the most dangerous places in the world because America has like autonomously decided to say like the dangers of going to this place outweighs your freedom of going there. What would be your argument against that?
I guess if they want to go there, they could. I don't think I'd be in favor of banning it.
Oh, okay. I think. Wait. Okay. Right. You just saw what you did there, right? I think.
So you're going to try to say that, well, actually, right here, you just proved my argument because you do value people's autonomy. But just because I don't want to make laws blocking people's values, just because I don't want to make a law, so we're doing like you're trying to do a contrapositive, but I don't think it works here. You're saying that just because I don't want to make a law blocking somebody's autonomy, that it doesn't logically follow then that I do want to make laws allowing people's autonomy. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't make arbitrary, just to be clear, I wouldn't make arbitrary laws restricting people's freedoms if I didn't think it was incredibly important. But just because that's the case, that doesn't mean that then I want to focus all of my new policy on expanding people's freedoms. That's just not something I care about.
Okay. Well, okay. Why wouldn't you want to just like? Okay, what's the argument against arbitrarily restricting people's freedoms?
If there's not a good, compelling reason to, then it would be politically unpopular. There wouldn't be like much of a reason. I don't know why you'd do it.
Okay, sure. Okay. So like at that point, I got you to admit you do value freedom at least a little bit because when I propose like the unjustified banning of just freedom, just if we act out freedom, you actually have a response to that. So because you have a response to just acting out freedom, you do value it to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, so I told you in the beginning, or not in the very beginning, but I said I could build a bridge here and I could say like, sure, we could have like some value of autonomy. I just think that autonomy is like way less important than meeting like all of your little fundamental needs first, and that people tend to overvalue autonomy, or they think they overvalue autonomy.
Oh, my bad. I must have misheard that. Okay, well, yeah, I think like and also I would think every conservative would agree. Like, food is more important than freedom. Water is more important. Okay, so all right, we're good on that one. So, can we talk about our next debate topic?
Sure.
Okay. So are you up for just like a vegan debate?
Yeah, why not?
Just a couple of questions. Okay. I know you're. So, to like try to restate your position. Your position is, when I create my fundamental axioms, I don't value animals, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just have like a couple questions about that, and we can like stop it. Okay.
Go for
What
it.
would you say? Yeah. What would you say a white person? What would you say to a white person in the mid '80s that says like, when I create my fundamental value axioms, I don't value black people? What would you say to convince that guy?
I disagree.
Okay. That's okay, right? We agree that you disagree there,
Mhm.
but like that's not gonna. But you're not kind of like is there not a good argument against his moral system? Is that it? You can just
Fundamentally, no. But I can compel no moral system because if he does bad shit, then we kill him with police officers or we arrest him and put him in state prisons, right?
okay. So in the time of slavery, if you were to go to like a white nationalist or like plain racist guy, your best argument to his moral axioms is just like, no, man, I don't agree. Is that your best argument?
Let me try to figure out what you're asking. When you say best argument, are you trying to ask me what would be the most rhetorically effective, or what would be the most like I'm going to win the debate in like a intellectual form, or what exactly are you asking?
Yeah. It's like intellect, not like persuasive form. You can be like, oh, but the blacks, but like just on the intellectual form. If he starts his axioms without thinking of black people, how there's got to be like there's nothing more you can do but say you disagree.
I don't think so. Not like on. I don't know because I don't believe in any type of like objective like moral truth or anything. No. I'd like if it was what I would probably do is I'd try to find like if he was religious, I'd try to appeal to that system or something. But I don't think there's some like fundamentally true moral statement in terms of valuing different groups of people.
Okay, sure. We'll move off the veganism topic. How do you feel about abortion?
I'm very, very, very slightly against it right now. Like 49, 51%. I'm in favor of it. Like 49, 51, 51, 49 in favor of abortion right now.
Gotcha. Okay, let me just run down the argument because I'm a little split person. I think everyone in America is a little bit split. Why don't you value a fetus's life in the womb?
I think at one point, I used to just blanket value human life. That was kind of like my starting point. And then I think I changed it to from human life to human experience. It seems to be more important, and it gets me out of trouble in other places as well. And as long as you aren't conscious at all, it seems that you're not having an experience to speak of. So it's kind of hard to say that any value should be placed on you because you're not experiencing anything.
Gotcha. If some like alien overlord came down and wiped made everyone unconscious for 2 seconds, could I genocide the whole earth?
You could, and I mean, I guess nobody would experience anything. Yeah. So I guess it's nice that you bit in on that. So the only problem that I have right now with my thought, the reason why I say I'm 5149, rather than doing the alien thing, my question would be like, let's say somebody's having a dreamless sleep. Could you just kill them? Would it be unethical to do so? See, I don't know what the answer to that is. It seems like from where I'm at right now, the answer would be like, I don't really think it would be unethical. It's not like they're experiencing anything negative when you kill them. I've seen more exotic arguments related to like a continuing experience, or if you've had an experience that's going to continue, maybe that should be protected. But I don't know. Maybe you could bootstrap an argument like that or something. But
Okay, sure. So what makes it so like okay? So if a baby's born without any experience, can I stab it?
if it's not having an experience, which to my if the baby was born like permanently comatose or something, then yeah, sure.
Okay, during the like birthing, can I kill it midway?
Well, no, because I
like,
think the idea is that a fetus starts to have an experience around, isn't it around like 3 months?
Okay, wait. So you're abortion friendly until 3 months?
Until you're having an experience, whenever that conscious experience begins to form, I guess.
Okay, so you're a deadline person, right?
What is a is that a term for something? What is a deadline person?
Well, you're like, okay, when it's on 3 months, it's not okay, but before that, it is okay, right? Is that your?
It's not okay when it is. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
I'm just like resetting your position. So you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh sorry. Oh, I understand. Yeah. It's not so much a deadline. It's more of like, or I'm not valuing like the deadline. I'm just looking at like, well, when does the conscious experience start? That's what I'm looking at. If you want to call that a deadline, then sure. But that's like I'm looking for something qualitative there, not just like a time. Like 3 months is the okay time. It's more like yeah.
Okay. Why do you value a conscious experience so much?
I don't really. That's just where I start. I mean, I guess, or like, let me restate that. So like, axiomatically, right? The very first statement that I need, I think, when we're past like epistemic truth and everything, to get like morality off the ground, the very first axiom that you probably have to start with, or that I would start with, is like, I value conscious human experience.
Why?
I don't have. That's a foundational belief.
Okay.
I don't think if you think you can go back further than that on any kind of like foundational belief, I would love to hear it, but I don't believe it's possible to. So
Right. But I feel like conception's a little bit more rock hard, right?
Why though?
Well, because at the start, because that's when like the egg is fused, right? And that's
Um,
what it is, right? And it's like that's like the start of your birth. That's the start of new DNA gene code.
Wait, have you watched my
So
old
that's what,
debates?
huh? No.
Oh, wait, where'd you hear this from? Or how did you come upon this?
This was like I think like Steven Crowder changed my mind, and I do a little digging on my own.
Okay, gotcha. This used to be exactly my prior. That's why I'm asking. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, your new DNA gene code. Oh, so you already have a counter argument. Okay.
Well, no, this is
Yeah.
exactly where it was. Because my issue before was I want the most consistent way to define human life, and it seems like the formation of a zygote is when you have your own unique genetic structure. That seems to be like the
Right.
most consistent. Like, boom, this is the start.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you like I think that's more consistent than the conscious experience because like um I wouldn't want okay, here's my thought. I wouldn't have so if an alien overlord species came down and like erased my conscious experience, I wouldn't want them to murder me. So like there would be no argument against an alien species going down and erasing everyone's consciousness and genociding the population. I would have
So
no
here's
argument
so here's a question that I would have for you. Okay, what do you think people should do with your corpse, or do you have a preference about what happens to your corpse?
sure. Donate it to science is probably like the best one.
Yeah,
Burning
but
it-
once you're dead, do you think you have a preference at that point?
Oh, after you're dead? Sure, if you believe in an afterlife.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
Yeah. But okay, I get what you're saying.
Well, because
obviously-
so the next question is gonna be like, because I don't think there might be things that I want before I die, but once I'm dead, I don't think I can state a preference. Like I don't really have any at that point. So I wouldn't want somebody to come down and erase my conscious and then kill me. But once I have no conscious experience, I don't really think I would have a preference one way or another. That would just be like, oh, I guess I just have no consciousness, and then boom.
Okay, but why would that stop at like killing someone without a conscience? Like after you're dead, you can't state the fact that like, oh, I don't want to be dead. Right?
Well, I'm saying that you don't really state any, like, it seems like we need that conscious experience to put forth like certain preferences that we like consciously value. That might be tautological, but in order to put
Okay.
in order to put a preference
Yeah.
forward, you have to have like a conscious experience. So like once that conscious experience disappears,
Right, gotcha. Okay, so conscious experience defines humanhood. Okay, so if someone like falls on their head and has amnesia, are they a whole new person because they have a whole new conscious experience?
possibly actually. I read an interesting paper on I wish I could remember who this was, but it was the idea that if you put a person in jail with Alzheimer's disease, and let's say that you lock them up for a certain crime, and let's say after a period of time has passed and they don't remember ever committing that crime and all that memory is gone, is it ethical to keep them in prison? And I found that argument pretty compelling. It's like, well, I don't know. That's really strange. You're punishing essentially a whole different person almost.
No. Okay, so the reason why it's like why it's unethical to keep him there is because he's no longer a danger to society, not because he's a whole new person.
Well, but that's not the argument that that paper was making. You could make that argument. That'd be a different argument to make. But the argument the paper was making is that the person is essentially like a whole different person at that point, that it would be strange to keep what is essentially an entirely different person with a whole new set of memories in prison.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the only way to look at it. I was just saying that I read a paper on that and it was interesting. I'd never really thought about that before, so I kind of like changed my mind a little bit about that.
Okay, so my fundamental value, and just agree or disagree if this is wrong, I think it's a less moral system if we say F all unconscious people, or like F all people with a less conscious experience. Okay, how about this? If someone has a more conscious experience than someone else, does that make them a greater person?
Consciousness feels a little bit binary to me. I don't know if we can say that one person is having a more conscious experience than another person. I'm open to be corrected on that, though.
Okay. So if I need to retouch on this topic, I would have to answer, why should we value people with no conscious experience? And that's what I need to change your mind.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it feels to me that we're talking about, like, basically, like, really, when I say axiomatic, what I mean is, like, these are the starting rules we need to get any system off the ground. And then, by definition, axioms are, like, they don't have proofs. They just are. They're asserted, right? Unless you can provide a compelling reason for why this is a bad axiom. So like maybe it produces a result that's contradictory in nature or unsatisfying, I guess, when we're talking about morality, then it seems like there's not really much of a counter to that type of assertion. Like it just is.
Okay. Fair. Okay, let me pose to you this question. If okay, so say like if you have like a close relative, if they had like an experience that made them lose consciousness, but they'll get it back in like say 2 months, would it be okay to like kill them?
So it seems like the answer to that, from what I've given so far, it seems like the answer should be that you should be able to kill them, which is obviously deeply unsatisfying. I haven't explored it enough yet, but the thing that I mentioned before is it seems like some people would make the argument that there is value in like the continuing of an ongoing experience. So for instance, when you go to sleep, you were conscious and then you will be conscious later. Some people I've heard make that argument. I don't know how I feel about it. I would have to think about it.
Like a argument. Say like fetuses had like 1 second of consciousness and then went unconscious for it. Like you think they're gonna suddenly value that fetus consciousness? I think that's a red herring. Okay, my next question.
But to be clear, the main reason why this conflict is important is because I know that adult humans are conscious. I know that to be the case, 100%. So if we need like a really good argument to value something that has no experience, to value that thing over like a 100% thing that's having an experience. So like a woman that wants to have an abortion, right? We need a really good reason to value the fetus that is not currently having an experience. You need a really good reason to value that. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up.
Okay. So, okay, now here's like an upgraded version of the hypothetical I already posed to you. Okay, if an alien race wiped out our consciousness and we would be conscious the second later, is it okay for them to genocide us?
If an alien thing wiped out our consciousness and we would be conscious later. Oh, so like say they put us all to sleep, basically.
Yeah, and then 1 second later, no, not sleep, because sleep is unconscious. But if they erased our conscious and it would be back a second later, is it okay to genocide the human race before that second is up?
I mean, like you're kind of asking me the same question in another way, right? So I don't know the answer, right? Like I said, some people argue that there's value in like a continuing conscious experience. I'm sympathetic to that argument, but I haven't explored it enough personally yet, so I just don't have a strong feeling about it.
Okay. That's an interesting debate. We'll touch back on it because I do feel like a better moral system. I do feel like it's like just like less moral to not care about conscious people. I think I could convince you on that. I think I could. Next debate is so I know you got a lot of in trouble for your Kyle Rittenhouse take. Can you restate that again?
Well, I think that when you watched all the videos for Rittenhouse, it just seemed obvious it was in self-defense.
Okay. So your position is like self-defense is okay if you brandish a weapon first, right? If you like.
Well, depends on. We need to be very careful on how we. I'm going to be a real stickler on how we define everything. What do you mean when you say brandish a weapon?
I don't know if that's like a hard term.
Sorry, when I hear the term brandish a weapon, that usually to me means that you're showing a weapon in a threatening way. So somebody walking into a store and like taking out a gun and like looking at it like in a gun store, that wouldn't be considered brandishing a weapon. But if you take out a weapon, you're like, hey, stop, like I'm gonna shoot or whatever, that's like brandishing a weapon. That's my understanding of like when somebody says they brandished a weapon, that's what that means. Not just that they just have a gun out or you can see a gun, but that they're kind of using it in a threatening
way.
manner.
I don't think just like accidentally having a gun out is brandishing. I think
that's why that's good. If you believe that, that's fine. I'm just making sure we're on the same page there. Because what I don't want to do is I want to say, yeah, if you brandish a weapon, then you're being an aggressor, and you're like, oh, well, Rittenhouse had a gun there. It's like, well, hold on, I don't think he was brandishing it. You're like, oh, so now you're walking it back because you said before that if you're well, that's not what that's why I'm just saying that we have the same definition. I'm asking you a lot of questions sometimes, not because I'm trying to catch you or because I think we disagree. I'm just making sure we're using the same definition so that we don't run into something later where it feels like I committed to something that I didn't actually. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So did you get in? So here's the part. Did you get in trouble because like, why do they have to warn you first?
Why does who have to warn who first?
It's like you said Kyle Rittenhouse, because like on the debate follow-up, you said like Kyle Rittenhouse has to like warn you first. I saw your debate against Big Joel, and it's like you have to warn someone first, and then you can shoot. Why is
I
that
don't
your
know if
position?
I feel like I don't know if I said that. If somebody's aggressing on you, I don't know if you have to warn them before you shoot them. If they're like,
You said, yeah, yeah. The situation was with the Walkman. He said, like, I'm gonna shoot you if you take my Walkman. He takes the Walkman, and then his life is ended. Why do you
I
have
think
to?
that more generally speaking, I was probably talking about the concept of like putting somebody on notice. That like maybe it's important that if you
Yeah, why do you have to put someone on notice?
I don't know if it's necessarily a requirement. This is like the one I've got like 3 different requirements for self-defense, and this is the one that I kind of go back and forth on. But like it feels to me like I think that the biggest argument in favor of self-defense is that the other person in a way is consenting to the situation they're putting themselves in. It's like if I break into somebody's house, I know that I'm going to get fucked up if somebody catches me. But I feel like if somebody doesn't have that knowledge, then it becomes a little bit more hazy. And like, well, is it okay to like murder a person if they don't actually know that that's what's happening? Like, I feel like that consent part is pretty important, that they're kind of consenting to the agreement of like, well, if I do this, I could get fucked up, you know?
But gotcha. But in a world where you have to like brandish your weapon first, I can go in like without like if you hadn't brandished your weapon, you're basically granting every single bad person until
Hold on,
someone
wait.
has
Your
warned them
mic
that
lagged
they're
for a
gonna.
sec. Say that again.
Okay, gotcha. In a world where you have to like warn them first, you're basically granting every bad person immunity until they've been warned that they're about to.
Not necessarily. Keep in mind, my big Joel debate, that was about defense of property, not defense of life. Like, I don't know if you need. I don't think you need to put someone on notice. Like, if somebody's coming up behind somebody to rape them or kill them, I don't think you need to put them on notice or whatever. I think you can just
Okay.
take whatever action.
Yeah,
The big Joel
just-
conversation was
I
about
was-
defense of property, not a what?
Yeah, gotcha. Let's just talk about property.
Okay.
I think. Wait, how are you not like giving like every bad guy immunity until someone else warns them?
It's probably just not good to just be indiscriminately killing people because they're trying to steal from you. There probably needs to be like a pretty big barrier to that. So like somebody needs to probably be aware that. I think it's probably a better.
Okay. Wait, okay, but you're fine with like every bad guy having immunity until the point that they're warned.
Sure. Immunity from being killed, at least, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Why do you? I don't agree to that
Okay.
because like essentially you can infinitely steal things until there's a warning, right? You can infinitely steal or like yeah, infinitely steal things until someone has a warning to you. And in the situation where it's like a grand mal and like, oh man, I'm like slow to put up a warning, or like a dude's like really fast, like you're basically giving the bad guy a lot of ground. Does anything that I'm saying make sense?
I guess a little, but I guess I'm okay with that. Somebody can steal shit if they don't know that it's like wrong to do it infinitely, I guess. Like if you like, maybe there's somebody who thinks that like, oh, like I don't think the farmer cares if I like pick some of his corn and eat it for supper. My grandma used to do that. We lived in Nebraska. I like if you don't know that it's wrong and you're just doing it infinitely, I guess it's not bad. But then if somebody catches you like, hey, stop doing that or you're gonna get fucked, then it's like, okay, sure. I think I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
No. It's more like my situation is like some grandmas in their house. I can like infinitely still like, and say they got like a collection of motorcycles. I can infinitely steal those motorcycles until she puts me on notice that I'm going to die if I take another motorcycle.
I mean, I think that if you steal somebody's motorcycle, I find it really hard to believe that you don't think there's going to be a consequence for that. But I mean, like that could also apply to. I guess like I'm trying to engage with a hypothetical, but I need to be clear that this hypothetical is pretty extreme, such that I don't think this will ever come up in the real world. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna leave a motorcycle out with its keys out, like in some random place for somebody to walk by and just drive it away. Motorcycles are usually like at the very least in somebody's driveway with the key hidden, or in somebody's garage. I think if you're walking onto somebody's property, taking their motorcycle, I think you pretty much know that what's gonna happen.
Okay, fine, bike. Like it doesn't have to be a motorcycle. And this is actually a pretty like realistic hypothetical to like say like, oh, I can steal a bike before someone puts me on notice that they're going to shoot me.
I think that most people in society though know that like stealing a bike is wrong. You're not allowed to like steal a bike, right?
Okay. So let me rephrase your position. If they know it's wrong, then it's okay to like blast them.
I don't know if it'd be okay to blast them. I think that there should be some warning before you kill them. But assuming that warning and everything has
So
been...
you don't care. You don't care if they know if it's wrong. I don't know. That was just a red herring.
Wait, okay, hold on. First of all, you got to stop using the term red herring because you're going to trigger me, and I'm going to start screaming at you, okay? Number one. Number two, okay? There's a difference. You're conflating two positions. One is the defense of property or the protection of property. The other is the defense and protection of property with deadly force, okay? These are two different things, to be clear.
Wait, okay, come on. Okay, maybe I'm just like confused or something. But when I discuss like self-defense, I only discuss deadly force because like if you're not discussing deadly force, you exclude some of the population. So you exclude like the grandmas who like aren't like physically capable of doing stuff. You exclude the like mentally limited in their physical capability to do stuff. So when we talk about deadly force, we're only talking about lethal force. Can we like agree to that?
Okay, if you want to talk about deadly force, sure. Okay.
Yes.
So
okay,
go for it.
So you actually do not care if they know it's wrong, right?
I do not care if they know that it's wrong. If somebody is stealing your property,
yep, and they know it's wrong, you don't care about that.
I think I do. I think they would have to know that it's wrong, yeah.
No. Okay. We just said, okay. If you rewind a couple seconds back, we just said, even if they know it's wrong, the grandma shouldn't be able to like blast the guy without putting them on notice. Well, so you actually don't care if they know it's wrong.
Because I think that the person would probably act differently if they knew their life was going to be on the line for violating like that particular norm or whatever.
Okay, that's fine, but you don't care if they know it's wrong. That's irrelevant because even if they know it's wrong, they still have to have the notice. So why'd you bring it in the conversation?
Okay. Let's rewind this to be very clear. We're talking about killing somebody for stealing something. If somebody is going to steal something and they're going to be killed for stealing it, they need to know that if they try to steal that thing, they're going to be killed for stealing it. That's what needs to happen.
Okay, so that's all about the notice section. They have to be put on notice. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
But even if they know it's wrong, they still need the notice, right?
Wait. Stop talking about if it's wrong. I don't know what the wrong thing. That doesn't matter now because you said you only want to talk about lethal self-defense. So the knowing it's wrong thing or whatever. That's just for general. That's not relevant.
Okay. So we agreed that didn't matter. Okay.
No. Wait. We agree that if we only want to talk about like lethal self-defense or whatever, then now we're in a different area. Yes. Okay. So they need to be. Somebody needs to know that if they steal something, they're going to be executed for it. Or if they're going to be executed for it, they need to know that that's like a thing that they're making.
Okay. Now clearing up all that dookie, can we go back to the actual example? Because I think it's because you were attacking the realism of my example. I think it's very probable that some like pretty athletic dude can come in and repeatedly steal bikes from grandma before she puts him on notice that he's gonna die. So in that scenario, you are essentially allowing infinite immunity to athletic people to steal material objects from people until the notice is given. Do you accept those rules with your moral system?
Sure, but the notice could just as easily be a sign outside, or the notice could be the type of breaking in that you would need to do to get to the bicycle or the motorcycle. So for instance, if you're breaking into somebody's property in American society, I would consider that to be notice that you're going to get shot if somebody catches you.
Okay. So do you advocate for a society with the stricter self-defense rules?
Strict self-defense rules? Yes.
So in that way, you're also like a conservative. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I just don't agree that you have to be, put on notice. But
I think that it's important that because when it comes to lethal defense of property, right? We're talking about killing somebody for stealing something. That argument for me usually hinges on the thief knowing that this is the gamble that they're taking. I don't think it's fair because
wait, how is it?
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let me start from the very, 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 very beginning, okay? So when I start to build up my moral system axiomatically, okay, I'm looking to maximize whatever world I would happen to exist in, okay? So if I'm talking about some maxim or some principle or some idea that I'm going to apply in society, I want to make sure that I would be okay being on both ends of that system in every conceivable interaction, okay? So whatever moral system I construct, whatever moral statements that I make, I want to make sure that I would be okay existing on either end of that statement, okay? Mm-hmm. If I were in a store and I saw a fucking Tootsie Roll on a counter, and it looked like it'd fallen out of something. I was like, I bet I could just take this and eat it. I don't think I would be okay with me taking it, eating it, and being fucking executed. That's not something that I think I would be okay with. That's way too fucking much. Fuck that shit. So I would not be okay being on the side of that. Now, if there was a sign up in the store and it said, if you take a single fucking thing from this store, one thing,
right,
then our fucking Korean grandma's gonna come out with a fucking Mosin Nagant and she's gonna fucking blast you. Well, fuck it then. Right. I'm okay with it. You know what? I read the sign. I can read. You know what? If she kills me, she kills me. I got it. Much the same that, like, if I'm breaking into somebody's house and I'm stealing something, you know, I would expect I'm breaking into a house. If the motherfucker catches me here, he's gonna kill me. I know that's what's going on, right? There's a form of like of engagement with the system there, right?
Okay, but
that's what I say when I mean on notice, is that somebody is like prepared to, like, they understand like the rule set that they exist in, and I would be okay being on either set of that. But the notice part is important because let's say, for instance, I'm in another society, and let's say that in that society, they kill people for looking at men's elbows. And I had no idea. I would not be okay existing in some society where I could be executed for a rule that I didn't know existed. So when you ask me, could people infinitely steal motorcycles out of grandma's garages, as it exists today culturally in the United States, I think that everybody should realize that if I break and enter into somebody else's property and I try to steal a fucking vehicle, there's a good chance that somebody, as you said, that's not very physically capable could come out and kill me in the process of me trying to steal their shit. I'm okay with both sides of that engagement. Does that make sense from start to finish?
Yeah. That was very, okay. I understand more, and that was very humorous. But I also do have, like, a couple of, like, rejections. Okay. So first, I don't think looking at men's elbow is, like, a comparable example, because even in that example, it's not fundamentally immoral to look at people's elbow. It is fundamentally immoral to steal. And
okay, hold on, wait. No, hold on, wait. I do not agree that anything is fundamentally immoral, right? I already rejected any type of, like, moral realist claim, so I'm not going to start with anything being fundamentally immoral. So my definitions of immorality are going to stem from, like, agreements that we've made with each other in society that we all agree not to do. The reason why I used the elbow example, let me use a more realistic example, okay? Let's say that two people exist in an office, a guy and a girl, and let's say the guy goes up to the girl and he goes to kiss the girl, and he knows she doesn't want him to, but he does it anyway because he thinks he's whatever. Like, that's kind of like, I don't know if we consider that sexual assault, but, like, that's a form of assault. That's fucked up. But let's say that it's like a guy from fucking France or Italy, and he comes over and he sees, goes, oh, and he gives her, like, a kiss on the cheek or whatever. I wouldn't say that that action carries the same weight because he's not aware of the cultural context that he exists in for how that action is going to be interpreted. That's what I mean when I say on notice. That person wasn't put on notice that that action would be like an assault because they come from a different background. And if I was that person, I would want to make sure that people are updating me to the new rules in a particular area before they fucking execute me for breaking those rules. That's why I use the elbow example as an extreme, but that's what I mean.
Well, gotcha. So you're okay with as long as you're from a different rule set, you can infinitely sexually assault, like, a particular, you know, set of, like, you can infinitely sexually assault people in your rule set as long as they don't know the rules. So what if someone every single day gets amnesia and has to repeat the same day over and over again? You're basically giving them infinite ammunition.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, so we're conflating two very different things, okay? Property defense and personal, like, violations of autonomy are two different categories of things. For the property defense, I would be okay with somebody infinitely violating it before being murdered, but for violating somebody's autonomy, I don't think that the same restrictions apply. I don't think that it is on you, the onus is on you to put somebody else on notice that something is okay before you defend yourself with violence against that thing.
Stop. What was your sexually assault example if it wasn't, like, personal? I got that.
Hold on. Oh my God. The analogy was just to explain what it means when I say there are different rules in society. Not that those two things are necessarily analogous. The reason why I used the kissing one is because it was a realistic example, because you rejected the elbow example. But if you want, we can go back to the elbow example, but you said it was ridiculous hypothetical. But a lot of the hypotheticals you're giving are kind of ridiculous. I just gave you a ridiculous one in exchange so you can understand the point that I was trying to make.
I didn't say the elbow was ridiculous. I said, like, looking at someone's elbow isn't, I'm not going to say fundamentally immoral, but you would agree, like, looking at someone's elbow doesn't cause any negative utility, or, like, we
don't know. Careful, because all of these things you're going to make start to sound like realist claims. I don't believe that any negative utility is, like, inherently incurred by, depending on the action. We could probably find some, like, murder or rape, most kind of, but.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't care. Okay, can you find, okay. So when I tried to attack your example of sexual assault, you did this thing where it's like, oh, we'll have different rules for people. Well, why would you use an example with people? Can you make that example using, like, items? If we're talking about property defense, why would you make an example using people? You know how that, like, confused the heck out of me.
Okay. here's what I'm going to ask you to do, okay? If you want to talk about one particular topic, then let's talk about that. But it feels like, and you know what? Maybe I'm making this mistake, okay? But it feels like we're jumping back and forth a lot between talking about defensive property and defensive person. I treat these two situations with way different, like, standards, okay? These are fundamentally different things to me.
Wait. You treat these two things with different standards.
Yes.
Why would you use a human personal example to support your object debate?
Because what I wanted you to take from that example is the idea that social norms might be different in such a way that you would be unnoticed in one society and not in another. Not to say that those two things were comparable, that stealing something is the same as looking at somebody.
Okay, fine. I accept that. Okay, now going through all that dookie, let's go back to the actual point. So you're saying it is okay for someone who gets amnesia every single day to infinitely steal from... Actually, let's make this more ridiculous. Okay, say in their society, it's okay to steal everything. It's okay to steal your house. It's okay, straight up communism.
Yes.
You're saying it's okay for someone with, infinite repeating amnesia to basically steal everyone's property or steal anything he wants to, because in his society, that's what they did.
I'm not necessarily saying it's okay. I'm just saying it's not okay to, like, lethally punish somebody for doing this. There has to be a different form of notice. Let's just ground this out in a realistic example. Let's say somebody literally lives in, like, a fucking commune, and that's like their life, and they're flown from their commune in South America. Now they come to NA, and they walk around and they take shit from stores and they take shit from people because, like, oh, that's just what we do. I don't think that it's okay to murder that person if they don't understand. Like, oh wait, this society plays by a totally different set of rules because that person doesn't. They're not engaging with that system in a way that is fair to punish them for it because they don't even know the rules. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you the same question, but I just want to, like, test, like, really. Okay, so if it was, okay, in their society, and their tradition is, like, every 4th of May, they burn down their house, okay? And he comes to America, and he doesn't, realize the rules. Is it okay, or no, okay, you're giving him infinite immunity from lethal force to burn down people's houses.
Well, not infinite immunity, because once he's been told one time, he would probably have to stop doing it, right?
Well, it doesn't take many times to burn down a house.
Okay, let me think.
Okay.
Hold on, because I'm trying to be more rhetorically effective 2021. I kind of want to engage with this analogy, but this analogy is actually so patently absurd. So the analogy, if we could be this hypothetical, is you're saying that if there existed some society where arson was something that everybody committed and celebrated, and then this person came to another society and went to commit arson, would it be right to punish that person? I would argue, assuming there's no threat to life, because remember, I treat self-defense of person differently than defense of property. If somebody wanted to walk around and set things on fire, I would agree that it's not okay to punish that person with lethal force. But this analogy is this hypothetical is very extreme and hard to, okay. I just want to caveat with that, but go, okay.
Now it's time to upgrade it a little bit. Say in their commune, they like to blow up their capital. Straight up TNT, Minecraft, nuke 'em. Is it okay to not act with lethal force against a guy who hasn't learned the rules and then blows up the U.S. Capitol? It's not okay in your moral system to act with lethal force.
No, I don't think so. But if these types of people are being brought to your country, there should probably be some program that integrates them into society, because it sounds like wherever they're coming from is really fucked up.
We're talking about programs, Destiny. Okay, we're talking about lethal force and defending lethal force. Okay, you bit every single bullet. Good job. You made it to the end of the rainbow. No more extreme hypotheticals for you. Okay. I finally get your position. I wouldn't be comfortable, and just to ground this back in reality, I wouldn't be comfortable with someone, like, just because they don't know the rules. And this is just property defense.
Okay.
Just because they don't know the rules, they can, like, act with impunity to lethal force. Like, I don't.
Okay, let's test yours then. Let's say that you come into my house, and let's say that there's like an M&M guy, and you pull his hand and he lets go of M&Ms. Let's say you're walking through and you see it. Oh, and you're just like, oh, I wonder if this works, and you pull the hand. Should I be allowed to shoot you dead on the spot?
Well, you haven't taken the M&Ms. If you, like...
No, I don't even want you touching my shit, though. But let's say you do, and you didn't know that I was that strict on it. Should I be able to shoot you dead on the spot?
It's not... no, I don't want to hear use, like, fundamentally immoral, but it's like it's not...
No, hold on. No. You're in my house, and let's say that I have a rule that if you touch any shit in my house, but you don't know this rule, but I have the rule. If anybody touches any shit in my house, I'm gonna fucking kill them. You come in my house, you touch the M&M machine, I turn around, I pull out my .45, and I blast you. Should I have the right to do that?
No, because even if it's a rule in your house, that doesn't make it immoral to do it.
Wait,
right?
what system of morality are you appealing to at this point?
I mean, I guess like I'm a threshold deontologist, but okay,
That doesn't say
anything.
anything about what's right or wrong. That's a normative system.
Okay. Can we just like okay, without getting into like what is objectively
No,
right
okay,
or
hold
wrong?
on. Because I engaged with every extreme hypothetical you gave me, okay? You have to engage with my hypothetical now, okay?
I said no because I don't feel touching. Like okay. So just because
It's not
you
a
said
matter of what
rule,
you feel. Maybe somebody feels like taking a bike shouldn't be that big of a deal either, right? I can't use that
well,
to
you
defend.
didn't ask the person taking the bike. You're asking me. Okay. So I don't think. Okay. Can we both agree it's not immoral to touch a Eminem man?
No, I
Right?
think that
Can we-
morals are relative to each society. I don't think that there is some objective moral foundation or standard that I can appeal to. I don't believe that at all.
Okay. Let's not use moral. Okay, because you hate that word. Okay. Can we agree that there's a difference between stealing and touching someone's Eminem figure?
Okay, you can't just say we're not going to use the word moral and then describe ethics to me like I somehow forgot what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can we just okay. Let me make this specifically clear. Like, why didn't you just change your hypotheticals and say like he took the M&Ms?
No, because
Like,
I don't
can we
need
just-
to, because we're talking about, because this is getting to the heart of my issue before, and you wanted to test with extreme examples, like a community that just commits arson or blows their Capitol building up. So now I'm gonna ask you, let's say there's a guy who wants to defend his property, and his rule is if anybody touches shit in my house, I'm gonna blast him. You come in, you see like a little M&M guy, you pull his arm, you say, oh, I wonder what happens. You don't steal the M&Ms, but you pull it, and he turns around and he shoots you in the face. I'm asking you, why shouldn't he be defended in doing that? Why wouldn't you defend him? The answer is, and I think you don't want to say it, but the answer is, well, because you had no fucking idea. Or, more formally, you weren't put on notice.
No, it doesn't matter. Even if you have the idea, like, if you touch this M&M hand, you blow up. Because, like, okay, say you have the idea of, like, if you breathe, you're done. Okay? Even if you have that
No,
sign,
breathing is something that you do personally that doesn't extend to or interfere with anybody else or their property. That's different.
No. He's like, oh, you're like taking up my oxygen and you're putting your hot breath in the air. I found that as morally neutral. Bye. Boom. Like, okay. So why wouldn't he why couldn't you just use breathing? Breathing does affect people.
You can't counter my extreme hypothetical with an even more extreme hypothetical to avoid answering my hypothetical, okay?
I just answered it. I said no because, okay, I guess we're going to have to get into this debate. I don't think touching someone's M&M hand is immoral, just as I don't think breathing hot air into the atmosphere.
So do you think that you should be allowed to impose your moral code and act in accordance with your moral code, even if it contradicts other people's moral codes around you?
Yes, 1,000,000 times over.
Okay, what if my moral code is if I see a black person, I should be able to throw a collar on them and enslave them?
Yeah, okay, that's an argument in my favor. I think... Yeah,
Wait, no, you're saying I should be allowed to do that, even if it's different than yours. So how do you defend yourself rationally from that?
Wait, I think my moral system is the best. I think I should be able to impose my moral system on others, but I don't think others should be able to impose their moral system on me.
Oh, okay. So how do you know your moral system is the correct one then?
Because I debated for so long. I'm the best debater I know, unless anyone else has debated, fundamental ideas.
Okay, let's say somebody fundamentally asserts that non-white people are lesser than white people. That's like a fundamental belief they have. How do you say that you're better? How do you say that your system is right and their system is wrong?
Oh, how would I win that debate? Okay, I would say according to my threshold deontologist, there's no moral. It's only positive for. Okay. Let's just live by the golden rule, for example. Okay, I wouldn't want to be a black person in a white man's world that treats me like garbage.
Yeah, but then the white guy would just say, oh, well, I'm a white person. I would never be a black person in a white person's world. And maybe they even bite the bullet. It's like, well, if I was a black person, I'd know my place and I'd be a slave. Now what do you do?
Okay, bro, no. Okay. If you're asking me to debate them out of their moral system, I don't know why you're asking me to debate someone else out of their
I'm not
moral
asking you
system.
to debate them. I'm showing you have a big problem if your system of morality is incompatible fundamentally with somebody else's, such that they have to accept your form of morality. Otherwise, you just run into weird areas. That's a really rough spot to be in. You're essentially in a religious spot where oh, well, I've got these beliefs and morals that I want to impose on other people, but I can't really argue them, and I just want them to be I just want them to take them at face value, and if we disagree, then fuck them.
Well, then how do you ascribe morals? Because like, oh, of course you're gonna have the person who's just crazy. I don't know. Like, you can't even say mob rules or democracy because a mob could be crazy. So all you have to do is basically be like, my moral systems are better than yours. I luck and hope that you get into power and dictatorially, morally own these people. Like, how would you do it in your system? How would you like impose your morals onto others?
My morals? I have a certain moral code that I follow relating to creating contracts with other people. If other people reject that system, then depending on the types of rejections, they're either killed or cast out of society.
Okay. You're kind of, but that's not you. That's just society. You're like, oh, I have this moral system. I beg and pray that society agrees with me. Oh, wait, they do. So if you're crazy, my society's gonna, like, but that's not you doing anything. When you asked me, what are you going to do to, like, convince the, like, the white nationalists? You said, what am I gonna do? Your answer
No. I wouldn't pretend to be able to convince certain people. What I would say is, this is the type of society I live in. These are the rules. If you disagree with them, then you're either going to be killed or thrown out of society. So for instance, I have a rule that says you're not allowed to murder people or rape people. If you disagree with that rule and you act on it, then you're going to be either murdered or you're going to be thrown in prison or you're going to be thrown out of society. Because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to argue against somebody's like meta-ethical positions. I don't believe those arguments are possible to win.
Okay, but you do believe your moral system is better, right?
Well, I obviously. Otherwise, if I thought another one was better, I wouldn't have mine, right?
Okay. So going back to the question, like, if someone touches your M&Ms, in your moral system, it's not inherently bad to touch someone's M&Ms.
That's correct. However, I would respect that request they would make. However, I would ask them to put me on notice of that request before they take lethal action against me. So I save myself from that because I wouldn't want to be on that end of that exchange.
Yeah, what if they put you on notice that you can neither leave the apartment or breathe out hot air?
No, I don't consent to being fucking kidnapped and put in somebody's apartment just for walking in that. No, no.
Okay,
you can't use your put on notice to like aggressively. I don't think you can like assert. It's the difference between like a positive and a negative assertion, right? I think that you can make I think you can make certain types of assertions towards people, saying that like you can't like positively perform a certain action, but you can't use your boundaries to like enslave somebody. So like I can't walk up to like a foreign woman and be like, hey, just so you know, my moral system means that you have to fuck me, and if you don't do that, like you're violating my morals. Like I don't think you can compel somebody else to an action.
Yeah, here's the question. As soon as you step into their house, they say they put you on notice. If you step anywhere ever again, you're gonna get blasted.
You have to give the person a way out. No, I would reject that person as well, and they should be cast out of society.
Wait,
you can't. You're talking about like using your personal morals to kidnap somebody. I don't think you can do that.
Wait, okay, why is it? No, okay. So you're saying like, you have to give them a way out, and I'm saying it has to be wrong. Why is my answer like, oh, you're dodging the question when I give my answer?
Because I don't believe that there's any sort of fundamental moral appeal you can make to show somebody that their meta-ethical positions are wrong.
Okay, wait. So how would you? Yeah. Okay. But how would you convince them that they're wrong? Like, what if I don't think that they should?
I can't convince anybody they're wrong. I have to rule by force, literally. I have to hope that I have the police and everybody behind me to enforce my particular system of morality. Otherwise, I'm fucked. I don't think you can argue out of, well, unless you want to talk about like creating some new religion to convince people, blah, 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 blah. But otherwise, no. Like if I exist on an island and the other person wants to eat me, I don't think there's some universal moral code that I can appeal to convince them otherwise. I just need to make sure that they can't eat me.
Okay. Rolling back, why was my answer wrong if I said like, okay, I don't think it produces positive or like not positive utility. I don't care about utility. I don't think it violates the golden rule to touch the M&M's person's hand. Therefore, in my moral system, it would be fundamentally immoral to blast someone for touching someone's M&Ms.
Well, because it doesn't have anything to do with the question of like, what if somebody wants to enact something on you, but you not being aware that they were going to do that? If you were all on the same page in the beginning of like what was right or wrong, then all of these questions would be moot, right? Because a thief would always know that they're
No. You asked me, what would be your defense of someone blasting someone? Like, why would you see like someone touching an M&M dispenser and getting blasted? Why would you see that as wrong? And I would say that was wrong is because it doesn't violate the golden rule. That's why I would see.
Well, but it depends on how far back we want to go. But it would violate even your golden rule.
No?
Yes.
How?
Oh, this motherfucker. Sorry. Okay, so I imagine that if you owned any particular piece of property, you probably want to be able to make like statements about how other people can use that property. Yeah?
Depends on the property.
No.
No, absolutely. Like some properties, I just don't care if anyone uses it however they please.
If it is a piece of property that you personally own, I imagine that you want to be able to make statements regarding how other people can use that property.
Sometimes I would make statements, sometimes I wouldn't. Okay, but generally,
you win. You beat me. Okay, I can't. Okay.
Well, I don't care. Generally, yes. Go on.
Yes. The answer is obviously yes to that. I think you're scared of like walking into a trap, but the answer is obviously yes. You want to be able to make statements about like who can use or how somebody can utilize a particular piece of property you own. That would be part of your golden rule, is treating others as they'd want to be treated. So if this guy wants to have a statement about how people can use property in his house, I imagine you'd feel the same way. So why would you deny him the right to make that statement about his property when you want to be able to make those statements about your property? Maybe you wouldn't make that particular type of statement, but you'd want to be able to make statements about your property and how people can utilize it.
Okay, that's cringe, okay? That's just cringe, okay? Because if I say like, okay, I want these standards, okay, because anytime anyone does anything, you can technically say that's violating the golden rule because like anytime you do anything to offend someone. So like, say like I say words like they, and they triggers someone. You're saying, you violate their golden rule because you wouldn't want to have a say in your absolute society of what words people should say. So technically, you can say anything ever that I do could violate the golden rule. No, what I'm saying when I use the golden rule is like pragmatically what action they did, not a statement on the action, because I can make like these fundamental moral standards. But if someone violates those more like fundamental moral standards, that doesn't mean they inherently violate the golden rule. For example, if someone else had a standard that no one else should breathe because everyone's hot breath is fogging up the air in our atmosphere, I didn't inherently violate the golden rule because I breathe and I would want other people to follow my rules, and I broke one of their rules technically. No, I would only violate the golden rule if I did an actual physical action that I wouldn't want a physical action done to me. Do you understand?
I guess it just depends on how far back you run it, but that's kind of cringe.
No. Okay. What I'm basically saying is, golden rule doesn't apply to like other people's rules or moral sets. They apply to the action-to-action basis on what happens. Do you accept that?
I mean, if you make the golden rule too specific, then you don't really have like a golden rule. You can construct like any hyper-specific statement so that it always favors you and theoretically fucks over another person.
No. I'm just saying it's just action to action. I wouldn't want someone to kick me, therefore I don't kick anyone else. It's not, I have a rule that I won't want anyone else to kick me. If they break that rule, they're violating the golden rule because they also have rules that I wouldn't want to break. Like, because you're creating a society in that instance that, like, anytime you break someone's arbitrary rule, you're violating the golden rule because you wouldn't want them to break your arbitrary golden rule, right?
Sure, I'm just saying that, like, you could theoretically create, like, a really weird set of rules that, like, always favors you in a quote-unquote golden rule kind of way. Like, you could say, like, I don't want anybody to kick me unless I'm wearing red. Then it's okay, because obviously. And then you could go around just kicking people in society that are like wearing colors that aren't red. And you're like, oh, cool, I'm following my golden rule. I'm not doing anything unless I want to. Like, that's my golden rule. That's what I'm saying. It's just that when you use the golden rule, like, we can draw these rules out to be as specific or as generalized as we want to arrive at essentially any conclusion that we want, right? Like, that's I could say that, like, I follow the golden rule because I think that men should be able to fuck women anytime they want. So I just run around raping women. It's like, oh, well, it's the golden rule because I'm following my rule. But then if I were to... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you would have to be acceptable with, like, in another world that you're women, people can, like, infinitely rape and terrorize you.
Theoretically, yeah. That's why I'm just saying that, like, just saying, like, golden rule and using that as, like, a thing, I think you can run into problems with that.
Okay. That wasn't a comprehensible answer. Okay, going back to your M&M dispenser, okay?
Okay.
This one's stomping me, okay? Because so let's just go with this statement right here. It's bad to steal. Do you agree?
I agree that in my moral system, it's bad to steal, sure.
Right. Okay. Is it bad to touch an M&M dispenser?
Is it bad to touch an M&M dispenser?
Right.
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay. So you do acknowledge the difference between touching an M&M dispenser. So I'd say
That's not to say that another person couldn't reasonably say it'd be bad to touch their M&M dispenser, though. I don't know.
In their moral, in their moral system, they would be allowed to shoot someone. But in my moral system, and you're asking me, why is it not okay to blast someone for touching an M&M dispenser? It's because in my and your moral system, it's not bad to touch an M&M dispenser. Now, if you touch the M&M dispenser and you start stealing the M&Ms, then it's night-night. But
so what if you go into a person's house, you touch the M&M dispenser, it comes out, and then you eat a couple? You think that person should be able to kill you?
Night-night, yeah, because you're stealing at this point.
Well, maybe you think it's just like a public M&M dispenser. Like, oh, they must have candy set up in their house. Who has just a personal M&M dispenser like that?
If it's in their house, then it is fundamentally personal.
I refuse to believe, and even if you tell me otherwise, I'm literally going to not believe you, that you've never been in a friend's house before and like had candy that was like laying around or whatever, you like ate a candy bar. You think if you did that, you should be killed for it.
Oh, if he feels like strong. Okay. Here, you're okay. Because I know what you're gonna say. Oh, I don't believe you. Oh, I don't believe you. Okay, but I'm saying both outcomes are really bad. Okay, so in this society, okay, we can blast people for stealing public candy bars. Okay, but in the other society, you can infinitely steal candy bars until someone like warns, or like infinitely steal any or infinitely burn any type of property until someone puts you on notice, which is a worse society in my outcome. So yeah,
like I said, I think that notice is not like notice doesn't mean that somebody comes out with a fucking contract and says like, hey, can you sign here and make sure that you understand blah, blah, blah. Like I think in American society today, it's generally accepted that if you're trying to set somebody's house on fire, you're probably gonna get fucked up for it. Like,
wait, I don't care if notice means like, putting a sign outside or like having something on a shirt that says like, oh, if you touch, you blast. But I honestly don't care.
Well, that's a pretty important. Well, you might not care, but that's kind of central to the claims that I'm making, right?
Well, no, but then you would have to. You're putting the onus on like the grandma or the mentally cognitively limited to put a sign, and you're basically saying you're kind of victim blaming at the point. Like, well, you didn't put a sign, so he does have infinite impunity to like.
I think that putting up a sign that says like I have a gun and I'm gonna kill you for my shit, I think that's like an acceptable level of responsibility to take if you plan on killing somebody for stealing your shit. I'm okay with that one. I'm okay with the victim blaming there, okay?
Well, yeah, right. Okay, so you're saying it's their fault if someone infinitely steals,
No, it's not their fault at all. It would be the fault of the thief. But I don't think you have the right to murder someone if they don't know that that's the trade that they're making coming in to steal your shit.
Okay. Yeah. So I could do the destiny thing and say like, oh, I don't believe that you would like a society where people can infinitely steal.
I don't. That's why I defend the right to defend your property with lethal force. Even if it's something as arbitrary as a stick of gum or a blade of grass. But I still think there should be probably some notice given there that the person coming in is like making that agreement. That they're like, okay, well, if I go to steal, they've got the sign out, trespassers will be shot. Well, fuck it. If you trespass, then there you go.
So you honestly think that you're okay with a society where it's infinitely okay to steal something until someone is put on notice?
Yes.
Okay.
I would rather that society than your society where somebody steps into somebody's yard and they like missed a sign or something and then now they're going to get executed. I prefer my society there. Because that's the society that you're describing. Is somebody like a kid hops over a fence and then he gets assassinated by the lawn owner that's waiting with his fucking 50 caliber in his attic, like just waiting for some dumb kid to hop his fence and murder him.
I'm not sure if like walking on public property.
Not public property. No, private property. Somebody's yard is private property. At least in the U.S. I don't know what country you're in.
Is it fundamentally wrong in your moral system just to walk on private property?
Yeah, if it's their property. Yeah, of course it can be. Sure.
Okay, sure. Then yeah, I guess.
Wait, but you would probably want the kids to know that, right? This is what I mean when I talk about like notice. Notice is like.
You said you would probably want the kids to notice. Duh. I wouldn't want the kids to notice. But you're saying, is it morally wrong if someone?
I'm sorry. When I say you would want the kids to notice, I mean like we would want to say that it's not right. It's not morally acceptable to murder somebody if they're not aware that that's the risk that they're taking.
Right.
Right.
Or in other words, someone has infinite impunity until someone else is given notice.
Yep. Correct.
That would be okay.
So that means
Like,
that in
I
a
would-
neighborhood, kids are hopping fences and doing that. When in my neighborhood, we did this. We jumped fences and we ran around through people's backyards and shit. And you do that infinite numbers of times until somebody steps out and they say like, hey, if you do this, I'm going to fucking blast you. You're in huge fucking trouble. Don't come into my yard anymore. I was like, oh shit, okay, well now we stop. Yes, that's correct.
Sure. All right, say that person's deaf.
Well, then they're obviously not put on fucking notice. Much the same that if you were to text somebody while they're sleeping and they don't get the message, they also wouldn't be put on notice.
Okay, so in Destiny's world, you can infinitely steal from the deaf people.
Yes. In Destiny's world, deaf people can infinitely jump the fence into your yard because you're not able to give them notice that you're going to kill them. That is correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, good. Bite the bullet.
I will bite that bullet. That there might be some deaf community of children that are infinitely jumping fences. You got me hard on there. I'm gonna bite the bullet on that one and say, yeah, you know what? I guess that's gonna have to be an outcome of my world. That deaf kids are gonna be hopping fences in old man Gary's yard. Yeah.
Okay. Would you bite the bullet on like different languages though?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, now that's a one I did not expect. So you actually give infinite impunity for people not like if I don't speak your language, I can't effectively be put on notice. So I can basically, with infinite impunity, steal everything from other people's languages, right?
I think that there are ways to put somebody on notice that don't require you to speak their language. If you go to steal something and somebody is like screaming, you're like, hey, you probably know to stop.
Okay. And if he doesn't do that, he's dead. Say he's like out of town. He's dead. He's gone. All this stuff is gone.
I guess in the hypothetical world, and I just need to be clear here because you refuse to engage in my hypotheticals. I'm trying to engage you in good faith, but you're talking about hold on. You're talking about an immigrant that doesn't recognize property rights, that's been brought over to the United States and unleashed upon a poor, unsuspecting neighbor, and he thinks it's okay to just steal all of his shit. I will engage with that hypothetical, but I will also say I don't believe these types of people exist in the real world, except in incredibly exotic examples.
No, I was more thinking the opposite. American kids go to like France, because you brought up that example, and they're allowed to infinitely steal because they don't recognize any of the signs or any of like the mannerisms.
I think that in most Western countries, other Western people recognize that stealing is wrong.
Okay, so you can do it in Africa?
Yeah, you can do it in Africa.
Nice. All right, on to the next debate. So you had a debate with Vaush that was like pretty similar, okay? Or not pretty similar, but let me get this straight. Your claim with Vaush was if there was a system, I actually do agree with Vaush. There was two different debate points. One was, do you have a fundamental obligation to help people even if you have a lot of wealth? Do you think you have a fundamental obligation to help people even if you have a lot of wealth?
I think that you have increasing obligations to society depending on what you're allotted. Yeah.
No. That's not what I asked. I said, do you have a fundamental obligation to help people if you have a lot of wealth?
I don't want to say yes to this because you're using the phrase "help people," and I don't know what you mean by that. So when I would say yes to that, but I don't know if you're going to say, okay, so then if Bill Gates was walking outside and he saw a guy walking across the street, he obligated to go help that person because he's rich. I don't know what you mean by that. Like,
okay.
So when you say help people, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you think I mean when I say help?
I don't know. That's because we've gone to some crazy places. How about I'll rephrase this and you tell me if you get this. I think that you have an obligation to help people within your means, and as your means increase, your ability to help people relating to those means increase.
Okay.
So if you have great financial capability and you've got great financial wealth, then you should probably be helping people financially in a greater level. Yes, is what I would say.
My brain is getting triggered. Okay, we have to clearly define everything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think you're okay. You just said when people get more wealthy, they have a greater capability to do good.
Mm-hmm.
Duh. Do they have a greater obligation to do good?
Well, that's what I'm stating. Yes.
Okay. Well, no. Okay. He does have a greater capability, and you have a greater obligation, right?
Correct, because the obligation should meet the ability. Yeah.
Why does my wealth make you? Why does someone else has a fundamental obligation to my wealth? Even if I'm the wealthiest person in the world, infinite money.
It's not about any individual having a right to your wealth. It's about, societally speaking, society having a right to redistribute your wealth to ensure the optimal functioning of society.
No. Because...
Wait, hold on, wait. Just to be clear, you can't tell me no. I'm telling you what my belief is. You can't just say no. You can argue with me, but you can't just say no. But, so go ahead.
No. This is not what the debate is about. Because you're basically saying, oh, as your wealth goes over, you have to pay more in taxes.
Yes.
Which is a duh. And Vaush didn't disagree with that too. What I'm disagreeing with specifically is once you get more wealthy, you don't have to help other people with that wealth. No community except the U.S. government is entitled to your wealth. Do you agree with this statement?
I think so, yeah, because that's typically how we redistribute wealth, is through the government, yeah.
Gotcha. So no community. Okay. So you agree? No person in the U.S. government is responsible. Okay, cool. So how? So okay. So all you were advocating for in that Vaush were higher taxes on the wealth, because that's the only way. Like okay, I don't know what you guys disagree on, because you just admitted, you just forfeited the claim that if I'm wealthy, I have none of that wealth has to go to other communities. You just admitted that, right?
That's what I believe, yes.
Okay.
However, I wasn't attacking Vaush based on what I believe. I was trying to illustrate a contradiction in what he believes. I'm not a socialist either. But I believe that if you're a socialist and you think that like helping the proletariat and furthering your political views is important, then I would expect to see you live that out in some ways using whatever means you have necessary. I personally don't believe in socialism and that shit.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, here's a question.
Okay.
Do you have a moral obligation to live out what you speak on the internet?
I would say yes. Yeah, generally, yeah. Depending on what you mean, but...
Wait, you can say anything. You can, like... Why do you have a moral obligation to live out what you speak on the internet?
Well, because if you don't really live your values, I don't think you really believe them. I think you should have an obligation to, like, live in the ways that you profess people should live. If you're making moral statements, you should be obligated to those moral statements.
No. Do you have a moral obligation to set through your values that you post on the internet?
Yeah, I would say so.
Wait, you have a moral obligation to... Okay, sure. So if someone's coming to... Okay, cool. Because if someone's coming to steal your property and you have a sign out back, I expect you to come with the AK-47s and the machine guns, or else you're not living your values, Destiny.
Okay, just because somebody has the right to do something morally doesn't mean that they have to do it. These are two totally different conversations. If you want to have hold on. I would never say that if somebody is stealing from you, you have an obligation to execute that person. That is a way different argument.
Okay, cool. So you don't have a moral obligation to live the values you set up in the internet.
I never profess the value that you have to murder somebody if they're stealing from you.
Oh.
If I did, then yeah, I would expect to follow through on that, but I would never. That's an insane value to have.
Okay. Oh, okay. And you're saying socialists are saying you have to do socialism or else you're bad. I don't think that's what socialists are saying. Socialism.
Okay, let me instead of trying to guess what I meant in this conversation, all I would say is that if you're a particular type of activist, or if you profess a certain moral value or belief, I would expect that you would live a life in a way that conforms to and furthers those particular values. So
wait, why do you have to live a life that furthers your values?
Because otherwise, what are they? I don't think they're your values at that point. It's just like something. It's just a talking point to make money or whatever.
Okay, why can't it just be that?
I guess it could be, but then they wouldn't really be moral values at that point. It'd just be marketing, be something different.
Okay, is there anything fundamentally wrong with marketing?
It is when you sell it as moral values.
How is that fundamentally wrong?
Because then you're destroying foundation of society once we've said that it's acceptable for people to be telling lies publicly and to mislead people. I think epistemically we don't survive if we permit people to tell lies.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so your position is you would expect socialists with a lot of money to do at least a little bit something, right?
Yeah, that would be my expectation, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Is it possible to be a socialist, have infinite wealth, and not do any of the things to help communities?
I guess it's possible, but I would be highly suspect that you actually believe in your beliefs.
Wait, okay. So you don't have to. You just said it's fundamentally possible for a
No,
socialist
I don't
to
think
be.
it would be possible. I would disagree. I don't think it would be possible. I guess it
Because
depends on like what you mean by socialist. But no, I don't think if you're a socialist, you have infinite money and then you don't do anything to further the cause. No, I don't believe you're a socialist at that point. No.
how does any of the economic positions of a socialist have to tie in with anything on how you demonstrate it in real life? I think you can have separate positions on what your moral values are and not demonstrate it in real life. For example, you can be a capitalist and not like, export people for money or like whatever the socialist memes are. Like, yeah, go ahead, talk.
I think the problem is that when you start making, okay, so we have to get more foundational in morality, okay?
Gotcha.
When I say prescription, do you understand what I mean by that? Like you're compelling somebody to do something? Like you have to, like, I'm telling you, like, don't kill somebody. That's like a prescription, right?
Like, there's like description, which is like describing things, and then prescriptions is like, it's like what the doctors give you. So it's like what you should do.
Sure.
Gotcha.
So when I say if you're making prescriptive statements and you don't follow the prescriptive statements that you make, then either A, the prescriptive statements you make are not true, or B, there's some special reason why you escape those prescriptive statements, which usually involves some form of bigotry or something, in my opinion. So I don't believe that you can be making prescriptions that you yourself are not willing to follow morally.
Oh, wait. No. That's not remotely true. Just because you don't follow your prescriptions doesn't mean your prescriptions are like not your prescriptions. Just because you don't. Yeah. Wait. What makes you think that?
Because
Like,
I
just
don't
because
think you can support, I don't think you can like rationally build some system that allows you to tell people how to do things that you're capable of doing but choose not to. Feels hypocritical at that point, and then contradictory from that point.
I know it feels that way. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Sorry, hold on. I'm sorry I said that word. I didn't mean to say that word. It is contradictory at that point. Not it feels. It is contradictory at that point. Don't latch onto that word. Okay.
Okay. Let me pose you a question. Say I'm a socialist who has infinite wealth, but think that any marks of socialism is futile in a capitalist world. Do you still obligate me to give money to other communities?
If
The answer is no.
the problem is I don't want to engage with your hypothetical because it's impossible. Because I don't believe that any socialist believes that socialism is impossible. Otherwise, why the fuck would you be a socialist? That's such a dumb like. So like, if wait, hold on. I have to hold on. No, hold on. Because if you're gonna ask me questions like this, then I have to talk through the entirety because of the rhetoric bullshit. I have to talk through the entirety of why your example is bad. So you're asking me, let's say somebody believes in a particular system, but they acknowledge that particular system is impossible. Do you obligate them to do anything about the particular system? Well, in that case, no, I wouldn't. But I would question why a person would follow any particular system that they believe is impossible. That would be stupid and absurd. So I guess, yes, it's possible that person could exist, but what an absurd hypothetical system you have if you acknowledge that it's impossible that it could ever exist. Why would any person believe that?
Oh wait, I didn't say it was impossible to do socialism. I said socialism in a capitalist, doing any acts of socialism in a capitalist world is futile. That's what I said.
But I don't think anybody believes that. That's not true. But I guess if you did believe that, then sure. But I refuse to acknowledge that there are people that think that way. That's just, it's absurd.
How? Doing like state socialism or like having Virginia become socialist is just like doo-doo. It has to be.
What do you mean? Look at Nevada. They're fucking, the Democratic Party in Nevada just got taken over by a bunch of like radical dipshit socialist fucks. Like that state is doing it. You could do it on a city level. You could do it you could make small communes. There's like tons of different ways that you can act out your beliefs if you wanted to.
No. Just because people have like communist heads. I mean, we have like a democracy and stuff for a reason. That doesn't mean like Virginia is now communist or like socialist.
No, but parts of it could become there. You could slowly prove the concept.
No. But fundamentally, socialists are saying like it's an all or nothing system. Like doing it.
Well, those people are dumb as fuck, so I don't know how to engage with those people. Everything works incrementally. Yes, everything works incrementally. If you're saying that it's either all or nothing, you probably don't actually believe what you're saying. You're just virtue signaling.
If you believe it's all or nothing, you don't actually.
Then you're just stupid. Yeah.
Oh wait, some systems are all or nothing.
Not socialism.
Yeah, it is. I mean, living in communes is not going to be like no one's bargaining for like living in communes.
If we were to have a society where every single business was a co-op, but everything else was the same, people would probably be more okay with that, even if it wasn't necessarily socialism yet. You can make incremental steps towards socialism. It doesn't have to be like a 100% transition overnight.
Okay, okay. I acknowledge that that specific area can be socialist, but like the thing of like redistributing wealth, that can't happen on a city level. Like Kansas City can't like implement.
Sure,
like
that's one part of it. But you could get there. You could have city taxes. I think you can. I know states can enact taxes. You know, you can enact city taxes on certain goods. Yeah, you've got like city sales tax and everything. Sure.
Sure. I mean, let me compare this to something else. So say you advocate for climate change and you have infinite wealth. Do you think you should be morally obligated to do something about climate change?
Common change? Wait, what?
Climate change.
If you believe in climate change, are you morally obligated to do something about climate change? I mean, it depends on what exactly we're talking about.
Say you have infinite wealth. Do you have to buy an electric car and like stop using gas?
I mean, I think if you have like the means to, sure. Climate change is like hold on, can I please talk through this? I know you're so desperate to drop the red herring or whatever. Climate change is like a special and particular type of thing because generalized harms, I think, are a lot different than like specific individual harms. So for instance, if you think that slavery is wrong, I don't think that you can ever get away with owning a slave, but buying something that at some point in the supply chain was made by a slave is a little bit different, I think. I think there's a difference between generalized harms versus like hyper-specific harms.
Gotcha. Capitalism, the argument that socialists could make in this scenario is capitalism isn't an individualized harm like climate change. It's like a system that we perpetuate, and everyone in that system is like pretty bad. Same as police unions, right?
That's true. That is what? Oh, that is true. However, there are general and specific harms that happen under capitalism. So for instance, if you're a business owner, there might be the general harm of capitalism existing, but you also have the specific harms of every single individual employee. And if you had infinite money, you could probably do something to alleviate those specific harms.
But there are some harms that climate change do to like a pretty broad basis, right? To, like,
yeah, there are also specific. So like, I don't obligate people to like do crazy actions in their personal life to avoid like the general harms of pollution, but I absolutely think you should avoid the specific harms. So for instance, I don't think I would be obligated to buy an electric car because I don't know how much pollution like my individual one car like makes to society. However, I will never ever fucking litter. I think that's fucking disgusting. And I think that's like a specific sort of harm that like you individually like can contribute to. And it's not like a generalized thing. I think there's a difference between those two types of actions.
Yeah, so someone who's like a lot of money and a lot of fame is Greta Thunberg. She can't litter ever.
Somebody with what?
So Greta Thunberg, someone who's like really famous, have a lot of money. She can't litter ever.
I don't think you should. No, ever. No, never. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. No, I would say. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm being. No, you should not litter ever. Correct.
Okay. Okay. So, in your society, you're basically discouraging people from professing their beliefs, because if my beliefs are radical, right, and I have a lot of money, why would I ever profess those beliefs if you're just going to force me or morally force me to act out those beliefs?
Good.
Why would I ever profess
I'm glad.
my beliefs?
If you're professing a belief and it's so unrealistic that even you, the main advocate that has infinite money, can't act out on it, then maybe you shouldn't profess those beliefs. Do something different. Sure.
Okay, but what if I like the beliefs? I just don't
you
like.
clearly don't like it enough to follow through on it, so it feels like you don't like them that much.
No. Okay. So, no. Let me finish. What if I like the beliefs, but on an individual level, I think it's either futile, or I'm too lazy, or I just don't care enough to do it on an individual level, but I would like to see societal change, and I would like to put forth societal change without me personally doing anything.
I guess it would depend on the belief. I would have to see what type of belief we're talking about.
Okay, for socialism to specifically, how come? Okay, so you're basically saying like every socialist should shut up. Okay, that's okay.
No,
that's your
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you're a socialist and you have the means to make like small changes in your community, you should probably do so. Otherwise, yeah, then you should shut up.
Okay, sure. Are the YouTube videos not themselves considered small changes?
Yeah, they can be. But they're also coincidentally ways to enrich yourself. If the only way that you further your own cause is by enriching yourself over and over again, it makes me wonder if you care about actually furthering your own cause, or if you're just doing things that say you're doing it and conveniently enriching yourself altogether at the same time.
Why does it matter if you say you do a good thing, but it comes with money? Does it matter?
If the only things that you choose to do are the good things that make you money, it feels like you don't really care about the thing. It feels like you just care about the money.
Okay. It feels like you care about the thing, not just money, but it could be possible that they're just doing it to like, I mean, you know, Hassan was a socialist before he started making money off of YouTube, right?
I don't know. Hassan was a frat boy that talked about like how to get dates and shit before he got on the Young Turks. I don't know. Maybe he only became a socialist because that was the easiest way for him to get on the Young Turks.
Okay. Specifically, Vaush was a socialist before he made money on YouTube, right?
Sure.
Okay. And philosophy too.
Okay.
And all the left.
Okay. But I would say that their obligations change as they acquire more and more wealth. Your obligations are sliding at that point. You can have more and more obligations.
No. I don't care about the obligations. But you said specifically that it makes you question whether they were actually socialists or they're just doing it for the profit. But they were doing it. They were socialists before the profit came in hand. So does that ease your question a little bit?
Not really. They might have just been socialists before because they thought it was trendy or they thought it was cool. Were they making big sacrifices in their personal life to be socialists? If that was the case, I might believe it a little bit more. But
wait, why do you have to make sacrifices to like impinge your value? To like make you believe your value?
Because I don't believe in anybody when they tell me that they have a certain value system if they only follow it insofar as it is convenient to them and it enriches their lives. It sounds to me like that person is just a self-serving asshole, and then they'll say they have a certain value system, but they don't really. They just follow it because it makes them money. I don't put a lot of stock in those types of values.
Okay. Why is it morally wrong for me to do a value insofar it's only self-sufficient?
Because at that point, I think that anything involving like structural lying is bad. So when we have people that are professing a certain belief but they don't have it, I think that all of those types of things are bad. They do harm. They're harmful.
Okay. So only by, walking through the fire and doing self-sacrifices can lefty socialists actually, I mean, wouldn't you consider like sleep deprivation from streaming 10 hours a day every day? Wouldn't that be a self-sacrifice?
Fuck no.
Okay. Wouldn't like all the internet bullying be a self-sacrifice?
Yeah, it could be, but that's kind of something you have to accept if you want to make a lot of money. So it could still all just be about the money at that point.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So my next question is when everything okay. So money into you, because you're thinking now you're a little bit sounding like a socialist. So just because there's money in the project, like it's basically fundamentally wrong to you because like now you question everything.
Never said any of it was wrong. I think it's fine if you're a socialist and you make YouTube videos on it. I think it's fine. All I'm saying is that if you believe in something ardently and it involves like massive structural change and you come across a large amount of money that would allow you to make a little bit of that change and you don't do it, it makes me wonder if you ever actually believed in that particular thing or you were just saying it because it was trendy or cool, you made money doing it.
Okay. So I think, okay, that makes sense. But also you're just being kind of a prick when you say like, okay, they were doing it before they began money. Oh, maybe they were just doing it to be trending. Okay. Oh my gosh. Then that leads me to my next question. Even if they do charities and even if they do self-sacrifices without having the money in it, when you would just be like, oh, maybe they're doing that just to be trendy, right?
It's possible. Yeah, I could say that. If, for instance, the only time you're willing to do a charity is if you think you can get AOC to show up for it or whatever, this is super common. A lot of streamers do quote-unquote charities, but they really are like furthering their own brand and everything doing it. They don't really give a fuck that much about the charity.
Okay, right.
Not to say that's bad. I think that like doing charities is good. I don't think that like expresses like a strong personal value or anything.
Okay. So unless you're Destiny and drop 100 bands and get cucked doing a charity stream for a mayor, you can't actually profess your values. Because even if you do a charity, well, you might just be trendy, right?
You can phrase these and pitch up your voice all you want, but I don't think anything I've said is like extreme at all. I think most people would acknowledge the truth in every single thing that I've said so far. Like if you want to go back and address like any particular thing, like everything I've said is like standard practice and is super like, yeah, everybody like, yeah, of course. Like there are definitely people that do like charity stream related stuff just because it makes them look good. There are definitely people that profess certain values just because it's trendy or it makes them look good. Hop on Tinder, talk to any fucking girl right now between the ages of fucking 18 and 30, and all of them are fucking socialists in LA because it looks good and they don't even know who the fuck Marx is, let alone like anything related to what he's written about, right? Like, yeah, a lot of people do a lot of shit because it's trendy. A lot of people do charity work and everything because it makes them look good. None of these are controversial claims. You can keep saying it to me in a high-pitched voice over and over again like it's ridiculous, but it's super obvious. And I think most people acknowledge it.
Well, wait, but a lot of people do it for like, they actually believe in socialism and, it just happens to be trendy. Or maybe the fact that it's trendy led them onto socialism. So like if they hear if you turn on Twitch and all you see is socialism, okay, maybe the fact that it's trendy has something to do with like me being a socialist. Could that be a possibility?
Yep. And that I would expect to see them start living their life in a way more that conforms with those values. Yeah.
Okay, but even if they live their life in a way that conforms to value, if there's even the slightest trend possibility, you're just going to throw it up to, oh, they're trending. Oh, they're just following.
Really, if you're doing what you can to like further your values, I don't care. That's fine. That's cool. I think that's a good thing. Even if it is trendy, who cares?
Oh, wait. Okay, so that whole trendy thing, that was just a distraction. You just said
The
like,
red herring, you
oh,
mean, right?
no, you said not to use the word red herring. So okay. Because you said, well, then I would just think it would be trendy. But you actually don't care if it's trendy, as long as they're furthering their value, right?
I don't care if it's trendy as long as they're furthering their values.
Yeah. You just said,
Yeah,
you
I don't
just
care
said,
if something's trendy. Yeah, of course not. But if you're only following because you're trendy, you're only doing what you need to like make more and more and more money, and then it makes me wonder if you actually care about the thing or not.
Okay. Um. Yeah, that's fine. I feel like. Don't you feel okay? Tell me if I'm being unreasonable. It's a little bit kind of hard that you set the bar like so far up that you're like, okay, so if they do anything involving money, then that can be questioned. If they do anything following,
Yes. Listen, hold on, stop. Before you lay out like to make it sound so extreme, it's not that hard to find places or projects that you can get involved in to like make a change. So stop acting like it's so extreme, okay? It's not. It's not that hard to do any of this, okay? I'm not placing this massively unreasonable burden on anybody. Don't make it sound like that.
No. Okay, it's not hard to do that, but it would be hard to find a motivation to say, oh, I can either preach my socialist to like millions of people, or I can do this small charity thing that can help, maybe 20 people. Like, how would you convince someone?
What if you're in a position like mine, you can do both, okay?
Okay. Sure. Don't you think you're the exception though?
No, because I've said multiple times, I'm not saying that like a fucking blue collar worker is obligated to go volunteer all their hours working at their local DSA chapter or whatever. But I'm saying my criticism is pretty specific to other like high profile streamers. That it feels like if you're like a high profile streamer, you make a lot of money, you talk about these extremist issues, like, yeah, you should probably be putting your money where your mouth is and doing something to further those causes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. So why would they put effort into, doing the thing? I know you can do both, but wouldn't you be able to do one more effectively, like say streaming to millions of people? Maybe you can do that more effectively. Why would you put effort into helping, tens of people when you could put all your effort into helping millions?
Because you can do both.
No, but you can do. But if I do both, then one's gonna drop quality, right? Then I won't be able to.
Yeah, but there's like probably a marginal quality. When I say marginal, do you know what that means?
I don't know what marginal means unless you're...
When I say marginal, I'm talking about the next thing produced or the next thing we talk about. So if you stream, let's say you stream 50 hours a month and then next month you stream 60 hours. Those additional 10 hours are going to be a lot more than if you stream 300 hours a month and then the next month you stream 310 hours, right? The marginal utility of the next thing is decreasing, right? This is like what marginal utility means. So,
but what the... So,
wait, no! I was just describing the concept. Let me talk to what I was actually going to talk about. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay? If you stream 300 hours a week and or 300 hours a month and you take away 10 hours to do something else, chances are wherever you put those 10 hours is going to be massively beneficial to that thing. And just taking 10 hours off your 300 hours of stream time is not going to sacrifice that much shit. Okay? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's true. But their argument would be like that 10 hours of stream time probably convince more people to do socialism than taking those 10 hours and, canvassing event doesn't...
Nope, that's wrong. What about taking the 10 hours of stream time and then showing something that all of your whole audience now that you spend 290 hours streaming to, that they could go out and do? You can't possibly tell me that that's not going to have a greater beneficial effect than just streaming another 10 hours. No chance.
Wait,
no shot.
You don't think any leftist ever showed like, oh, well, this is what like a good mayor looks like, or like, oh, this is what like a good canvassing event looks like.
No, I don't think so. Because over and over again, you run into leftists that like refuse to pay people the proper money for their labor, or they refuse to do any like real life action, or that have all these problems like showcasing, like being transparent with their income. Like, no, I do believe that these are huge problems.
Okay. Okay. So going back to the question, you would, because maybe we don't actually disagree with it. You would say YouTubing is sufficient, but you would also make two fundamental claims. One, you could do something much, much more effective. And two, you could, you would question if they were actually a socialist. But you would only go so far as that. So
wait, hold on. What I just say is the very first thing I said. Your obligations to society and your beliefs scales with your means. So if you believe a certain thing and you start to get more and more resources, I would expect your obligations to that certain thing to increase. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So for instance, black athletes or rappers that talk about how like they love their family and they can't do anything and they sucks or whatever, and then they like join the NBA or they start, you know, producing albums or whatever, when they have the means to do that, some of them go back and they like buy their mom like a house, right? It sounds to me, well, let me finish. Holy fuck. Okay.
Well,
it
no,
seems to me.
You said if anything you say is wrong, interrupt you on the spot. That's what you say.
Yeah, but okay, let me. I know, but let me just finish this one because you like are like you're in very much like gotcha mode for this entire conversation. Okay, it seems to me that if a person were to do that, somebody joins the NBA and they go buy their mom a house. Oh, well, it sounds like he was talking the whole time about how he loves his moms and he wants to do something for it, and now he's got the money. Now he does it. Oh, he scaled his obligation with his abilities. That's cool. It sounds like he really meant that. But if he started making millions of dollars and then started making excuses where it's like, well, I don't know if I can get my family to know, oh, it sounds like you didn't really ever mean that. You were just saying it because it was trendy or whatever. You didn't have an obligation there. That's what I mean. Okay, go.
Okay. So first of all, none of these are gotchas, okay? When you said something like, oh, interrupt me if I say anything wrong, I don't want you to go on a whole tangent for me to like roll
I agree.
back.
That's why I'm not going on a whole tangent. I just specific thing. The reason why I say that you're debating is like a form of gotchas is because you're very obsessed with finding like, oh, that was a red herring. Oh, blah, blah. Like it sounds like you're not like actually engaging with my point. You're very, very, very attentive to try to find any contradiction, and then you just like hardcore like hammer it like, and that's all I'm saying. It feels like you're not making a good effort to understand what I'm saying. But go ahead. It's okay. Go for it.
I just want to know if you believe the things you're saying. That's it.
I mean, like, I feel like if you go and look at the way that I've lived my life and the things that I've done, I feel like I've been pretty consistent throughout my entire life in terms of like living the things that I believe.
I know you're canvassing stuff, and
fuck the canvas. It's not even just the canvassing. There's all sorts of other interactions I have with people. But go ahead.
Like, none of the things you do in your real life would prove like how we're in house. Well, okay. None of the things you do in real life would prove like your veganism take. Right? So I'm just using the hypotheticals. It's not like a gotcha or a debate tactic. I don't like when people accuse me of that. I'm just trying to see what you believe, okay? Gotcha. So next, isn't one of the things from the black community, because I love that you're bringing up that example, where it's like, oh, I love my community, I love that community. Specifically, it was like Ice-T who like tried to help their community back, and you don't know what I'm saying? Like, they try to help their community. I was like, oh man, this is like horrible. Like, I try to help my community, and they've been pretty poop to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, and their opinions or feelings might change on that, sure. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but...
You wouldn't say, like, Ice-T hates his community or anything. You would just say, like...
Bad things might have happened. I would have to know more about this specific example, I guess. Like... But I mean, like, if they have a really bad experience, then I can understand them changing. It wouldn't make me think they're a hypocrite. Like, for instance, I think that you should help poor communities, right? But if I were to go out and do like sometimes there are communities that get together and they like fix sandwiches and stuff for like homeless or at-risk people. If I were to go out and do that and I got fucking mugged doing it, and I was like, okay, fuck, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't think that would make me a hypocrite. I think that would be like an understandable response to like an adverse event. Like,
okay, yeah, that's fine. So, okay, that's pulling out. Okay, next topic. You say you want to debate conspiracy theorists?
Generally, yes.
Okay. Explain your position first.
Certain conspiracy theories require an inordinate amount of education in order to be able to adequately combat them. The positions are oftentimes held by very niche communities, so it requires a lot of research to disprove something that nobody already believes in. So there's like just the cost benefit is just not worth it to engage with those types of people, for me.
Gotcha. Okay, here's the thing I'm gonna say, right? Like, you're just saying like, oh, we can't debate any of these people, even if they have the facts and logic to like.
Whoa. I said I don't debate conspiracy theorists. I didn't say nobody should. If somebody feels like they're adequately equipped to, then fine, go for it. For me personally, I don't.
Okay, if you're not gonna debate conspiracy theorists, and you're the dude who's like, oh, I'm gonna debate anyone, do you think anyone else is gonna debate conspiracy theorists?
If they have, like, it depends on their level of education. Like, I'll debate a conspiracy theorist if they want to argue with me and say that, like, jazz isn't real music because it was made by black people. Well, okay, well, my educational, one of the few things that I can speak with relative authority on is music. I'll have that conspiracy theory debate, but I'm not going to debate somebody on, like, Holocaust revision or something unless I know the specific claims they're going to make in advance that I can talk to a highly educated. So if there's, like, somebody that, like, has, like, a fucking PhD in something and they want to debate a conspiracy, then yeah, go for it. Or somebody that's done, like, a fuck ton of background research, then yeah, they can go for it. But if you just think you're a good debater and you go debate a conspiracy theory, you're going to get crushed more often than not.
Okay, but here's the thing. you're basically saying when you label something as a conspiracy theorist, you're basically saying I am right and I won't debate you until I find more information to prove that I'm right. So the conspiracy theorist or the person you label the conspiracy theorist could never, ever, ever change your mind, right?
Probably not, depending on the conspiracy, yeah.
Okay.
But that's just epistemically, like, we have to have some foundational trust in outside institutions because we just don't have the ability to verify every single thing in society ourselves. I don't think I could ever win a debate against the world's best flat earther. I truly don't think I could. I just don't have the prerequisite physics knowledge to do it. However, I'm going to always continue to believe that the earth is round until the scientific community kind of changes its view on that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then that's like, because you're giving a lot of leftists ammunition to label anything the right conspiracy theorists. So they're going to be like, oh, I won't debate the world's greatest flat earther, but I won't also debate like Ryan Dawson, who's the person who labels conspiracy theorists, which is like, oh, I won't debate the world's best debater on illegal immigration because the science is settled. Or I won't.
Well, I don't think the science is settled there. I think that's a lot different. I look to the scientific communities for what I determine to be conspiracy theories. So if somebody's putting in like a lot of like uneducated research or like outside of an institution research on a topic that seems to be mostly settled for scientists, I would consider that to be like a conspiracy theory. If somebody's debating something that's still a contentious topic, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory.
Okay. So what would your argument be to the people to like when, you know, the earth was proclaimed flat by all the science and like the scientists, you know, had a scientific, you know, consistency, and then someone else comes with outside research and say like, you know, maybe this is not the, like, what would be your argument against those people? They won't debate you is the thing.
I would probably wait. I mean, it depends. Like, if I'm just like a fucking farmer or some shit at the time, I'd just believe whatever the consensus is, I imagine.
Well, no, what if you're someone who did a lot of research on this?
I mean, if you had the actual ability to do the prerequisite research and everything, then I guess I would believe my prerequisite research, I guess. Or if you had the prerequisites to do the research, I would believe in my research.
What I'm saying is how you're giving the leftists or the people you hate ammunition to be like, okay, it's a conspiracy theorist, so I just won't engage until I have some, like, your mind's not going to be changed, right? So
not on like Holocaust revisionism or anything like that, or like fucking flat Earth shit. No, it's not. Okay, but I think that's okay. I think it's okay to not like debate that. I think it's okay to not.
Well, okay, but then you get into a slippery slope. Like, okay, it's not okay to debate that, but is it okay to debate tariffs? I mean, I think the
tariffs are fine. The science isn't settled on tariffs. There's not like an academic consensus around them necessarily.
I think there's like an economic consensus on like tariffs are pretty bad for the economy.
They're bad for the economy, but they're also done for political reasons. So there's like, you can have a dialogue on that.
What would you, okay, what's your definition of a conspiracy theory?
It's when you have a belief that stands starkly in contrast to the scientific community.
Okay. And when you reference the scientific community, can you like explain how you know if a scientific, like what is a scientific community? Because like, they say like, oh, no scientist would ever disagree with you. Well, have you seen every single scientist? I don't think so.
I mean, you would look for, I mean, like, it depends on the issue that you're looking for or looking at. Like, if you're like looking at like law stuff, I imagine you look at like, you know, what do law professors at Harvard or Yale say, or like what is, you know, or if you're looking at like psychology stuff, you might look to like maybe the APA for broad statements of guns, or read like what's in the DSM-5. Or if you're looking for like stuff related to climate change, I'm sure there's like a national climatologist or whatever consortium or whatever. Right? It would just depend on the particular thing you're looking at. Right?
Yeah, you bring up like the DSA. Okay, so can we never debate transgender issues because you know the science is settled on that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by transgender issues.
You know. Trans like like what's it called, the like illness that wasn't illness but not illness, gender dysphoria, right? Sure. Debate gender dysphoria.
What about it?
Okay, you would say we can debate that even though the science is settled, but you said that we couldn't debate, you know, other conspiracy theories even though the science is settled on those. So I'm just trying to find out. Basically, what I'm trying to find out is where's the gate? Like, where is the line?
I mean, I already told you. I just told you. I've told you like 3 times, and you keep asking me, and then I keep restating it. You can give me an example topic, and I'll tell you if I think like, oh, we shouldn't debate this. Okay, that's what you want to do.
I just gave you one. Gender dysphoria. You said.
Yeah, what do you want to debate about it? Like, what about it?
What is gender dysphoria? It seems like the science is settled, but there's still
Science
conversation.
is nowhere near settled on like trans issues are like cutting edge. This is like brand new. Like this is like the frontier of like gender studies and psychology shit or whatever. Like what do you mean?
Wait, didn't you just say that DSA-5 was something to go to?
The DSM-5, yeah, but like this is something that's like constantly evolving and changing in regards to trans issues. Like, but it still depends on like what is your specific topic or what do you want to debate? Like, if you're going to debate like I don't think trans people are real at all or whatever, then I would just appeal to like the DSM-5. But if you're going to debate like I don't know if the most recent classification of dysphoria blah blah, it's like okay, well what do you think about classification about? Then we can like have a conversation about that. But if you're just going to tell me that something in the book is wrong, well, like, well who the fuck are you to say that?
Okay, So, I don't, what do you mean when you say the science is settled? Okay, you said like science is settled. Like,
okay,
you said,
I don't know if I used that phrase. This is like something you used. What I said, because I don't think science is ever settled around anything. If I use that phrase, then I misspoke. That's not a phrase that should be in my vocabulary. I don't know if like the science is settled. It should be a phrase that I should ever be using. The phrase should be as if there's a general consensus of like researchers in an area. That's what the phrase should be. That's why I'm saying you appeal to like broad bodies of like what do most people in this field think? Because theoretically, I think anything could change, I guess, depending on new research. But
okay. Even the death count of the okay, I'm not
sure of the Holocaust, yeah, sure. Of the Earth being flat or not, yeah. Theoretically, anything could change, and if the body of like researchers that work in that field changed their mind, I'd probably follow suit. Yes.
Okay, fine. I mean, I guess there's like, I just don't know what you mean by consensus, so I'm just gonna move on to the next topic. How do you feel about illegal immigration?
That's such a broad question. You got to be more specific.
So of course, as a self-made libertarian, I think that illegal immigration is bad. Legal immigration is pretty good.
Bad? How, wait, or what do you mean?
Economically bad. Economically bad.
Okay, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay.
So we can argue in the research on that if you want, but from my understanding, illegal immigration is supposed to be economically beneficial to most areas, and it might be fiscally a wash.
Okay. So my research is like, illegal immigration has like a net drain about like 500 billion, according to some administrations. But, on like the like actual level, illegal immigration has like a net drain on the economy. So I'm just gonna send you this link. Like specifically black low-wage workers. I'm gonna send you this link, but there are upsides to it because like I read the article and it's like there are upsides. So just click on that link. Quote Command F Carol. She did a study on this and said, and you can just list on the bullet points of like immigration. Basically, the bullet points of immigration is like, okay, it's a net drain on like the workers force. Right. It's a net drain on like it increases unemployment because it drives like the workforce down, so more people get unemployed, and this has a net drain on the economy. But on a small level, it's actually a positive. So if you have a lot of illegal immigrants come to a city, that city booms. But if you have a lot of illegal immigrants come to a state, that state crumbles.
How does that work? Why? Yeah, I don't understand why.
Okay, so yeah, just Command F Corral. So they found that like
I don't know what Corral is. Is this a name? What do you tell me? What to search for? What is? How do you spell this?
Carole.
Carol. Sorry.
Corral.
What?
No. So basically, what it basically said is like, on a like small level, illegal immigration is good. On a state level, it drives black unemployment higher. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, I'm looking at this and it says a 2006 report by then comptroller Carol Keaton Strayhorn found that undocumented immigrants paid $424.7 million more to the state in taxes and fees than the state spent on them in education. By far the biggest expense.
Keep going.
What?
Yep, keep going. Read the whole thing. Keep going.
That's a net gain on for Texas, but on the local level, the report found a very different story. Local governments and hospitals were nearly $1 billion in the hole. Strayhorn's report has some serious critics, though. Perhaps the...
Oh, wait, stop there. Wait, I just described it. On on a level...
Wait. Why do you want me to just stop reading on exactly the part that...
Oh, well, you can keep reading, okay? But let me just clarify what happened. Because what happened is just what I stated. On, I started... It is a gain, but on like a broad, more general level, you just said it was $1 billion in the hole. Okay, keep going.
Okay, hold on. If you're gonna make me read, I gotta. Okay. Stern's report has some serious critics, though. Perhaps the comptroller's most problematic decision was to exclude the expense of educating the U.S.-born children of undocumented immigrants on the grounds that these children are American citizens. That's a dodge and a pretty significant one. According to a 2009 report by the Pew Hispanic Center, there are nearly 3 times as many U.S.-born children of illegal immigrants as undocumented children. If we include all of them in the calculation, the state budgetary impact of undocumented immigrants could go from less than $500 million to $500 million in the black to well north of $1 billion in the red. So it could be pretty high. Some people think so, but nothing's simple in this debate. Texans can take to heart from a recent report from Jack Martin, the director of special projects for FAIR. Though Martin's view is that immigrants are disproportionately criminal, he concedes that the pattern is not uniform and that Texas is one of a handful of states where undocumented immigrants have a lower rate of incarceration than native-born Americans. El Paso, a city with a very large immigrant population, much of it undocumented, has one of the lowest crime rates in the country, despite the violence just over the border. Wow, that's huge, yes, but keep in mind that at the federal level, undocumented immigrants pay taxes they may never recover. Most work for large employers that withhold Social Security and Medicare taxes. That money helps keep the system solvent. Okay, so this is more or less, so what I said, what?
You can just go to the bullet points. Those also,
Well, I don't know if I want to just read the bullet points on it like this. My understanding is that most people view illegal immigrants as being absolutely economically beneficial, but it's either fiscally a wash or it might be fiscally a negative, is my understanding. So when I say...
I know the study, I know the study you're referencing. Those only come into account with, like, they usually tie in illegal immigrants and legal immigrants.
I don't believe that's the case, but maybe. But, I mean, like, it makes sense that even illegal immigrants would be beneficial to the economy, and it makes sense that fiscally they may be a drain because they demand state budgets and they may or may not pay into them depending on how they're paid.
Okay, I know you feel like that, but I just sent you an article saying that immigrants on a whole, on some levels, are a positive, but on a broader level is a negative. So if you can send me the article, I can look through it. But I'm like,
all right, well, you know what? Well, rather than going by one like FAQ on a TexasMonthly.com post, if you want tonight, you know what? On my little website, I'll write up on illegal immigration. Okay, I'll do the research. I don't have that research on hand right now for you though. I don't have that. So,
okay, yeah. If you can ever wait, you said like on your website?
Sure. Yep. I've been writing things every night for stuff I believe in, so that I'm better prepared for these types of conversations. So tonight, you know what? I'll do a thing on illegal immigration. Okay. And if you want, you can go on my site. You can go and pull out any position you disagree with because I'm working on it every night. You can go figure out what you don't like or like there. Okay.
Okay. Nice. On to the, I guess that's just a debate we have to have next time. On to another claim. What's your thoughts about Jordan Peterson?
Seems pretty base when he's talking about psychology. Seems extra cringe when he talks about anything not relating to psychology.
Sure, but he usually ties it back into psychology, right?
Doesn't change what I said.
Specifically on the trans issue, do you think he like blubbered that? Because there is a misnomer saying that like he misread what the trans bill stated in Canada. Do you believe that?
That he made it more extreme than it has to be. Yeah, it seems to be the case. But you know what? Who knows? In 5 years, maybe he was fucking right at this point. Who knows?
No. He absolutely was nail on the money with the transgender bill on like what it says. Click that YouTube channel and go to.
I'm not watching YouTube videos on trans people, but the C16 thing is something that I'm a little bit more familiar on. My understanding is that the C16 thing doesn't explicitly call for or name any laws at all. Is that correct?
Yeah. This is the C16 thing.
Okay.
He had what it described as right on the head. If you can just click the link.
I don't want to watch Jordan Peterson videos right now. It's just not.
No, it's like 30 seconds, dude.
Okay, hold on.
Like even if you don't want to watch it, then he's just gonna have to concede that he got it completely right. You're not gonna engage with the evidence.
Okay, let me 1 second. Thefreespeechclub.com. All right. What timestamp am I going to? 4740.
It purported to add transgender guise of compassion, which is very, very typical and very intelligent. Like if you're going to be a power-hungry authoritarian who wants sensorial control, the best way to allow yourself to be able to look at yourself in the mirror without screaming is to wear a mask of compassion, which is exactly what I think is happening. And Bill C-16 came out and it purported to add transgender rights to the list of protected rights in the Canadian Human Rights Code and in the Criminal Code. And like it was one of those Trojan horses that Brett Weinstein just talked about. You read the legislation, it's only 2 paragraphs long, you think, oh yeah, Canadians are being nice to people who are in a strange category and get oppressed. That's the surface of it. But then I went back and I read because they said on the federal website that it would be interpreted in accordance with the policies developed by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. So I went and read those policies and I thought, man, first of all, they were completely incoherent. They were extraordinarily poorly written. They were philosophically appalling. And they couldn't have been designed to get more people in trouble if that would have been the purpose of the design. So for example, if you're a business owner, they're not pro-capitalist, let's put it that way. If you're a business owner, you are as responsible for the utterances of your employees as if you were uttering them yourself, if the employee's utterance caused offense, whether or not they meant the offense, and whether or not there was any offense taken on the part of the person that was being offended.
Hello?
It was like, my God,
What?
really? That's
Hello?
Okay.
I'm trying to listen to what he's saying. I'm listening to what he's saying. Hold on.
That's really the rule? And that was like and there was another rule in there, which was that the Ontario Human Rights Commission could suspend jurisprudential tradition in pursuit of their goals. It was like clause 13A. Just 13A, it's just a little clause. We can ignore all legal precedent. So I was reading this and I thought, what the hell? This is absolutely insane. And then at the same time, the university, HR department, and equity, right?
Okay, I'm not going to trust Jordan Peterson's interpretation of law more than I would like a lawyer. So, for instance, in the last claim that he makes here, this idea that like, oh, they might ignore all legal precedent or whatever, that might make sense when you're talking about implementing or updating like a code, when you're changing how things used to be. I don't know that. But like, my biggest problem with Peterson is that like, I don't think that you can just like read like the text of like some broad decree like that and know exactly how it's going to be legislated. You have to wait until cases actually start making it to court, and then you kind of see like how it plays out. It might be that in some case, like, okay, well, hold on, I don't like how it's applied here. This is actually kind of fucked up. But it also might be another case like, oh, well, this is actually perfectly fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. That was my issue.
But he did interpret the bill correctly. He said
you don't know if he interpreted the bill correctly. Nobody's been locked up or charged with like fucking Bill C-16 yet.
No. He did say that it was just added protections to like protected classes. That's literally what he said. Is that not the
That's not what the only thing that he's saying though. Is he's going a step farther and saying it's going to be used in like some authoritarian manner to lock people up in jail.
He said it could be.
But we don't know if that's the case. Anything's possible.
Yeah, the bill just came out. The bill well at that time period, it just happened.
So isn't that all the more reason not to say it? Because we don't know?
Well, you would prefer him waiting until his fellow peers got locked up?
No, I mean, I think I would prefer like some like kind of like legal analysis over something before just like saying like, oh yeah, like everybody's going to be locked up and fucked up or whatever. Or like if there was an actual like law update or some way, or like somebody would apply the law in a certain way, then I think that like, okay, well, hold on, like this is not good.
He's just saying why it's not like morally culpable to conjune race and trans rights, or like why
Oh, I didn't hear that part of it. That's not. I was listening to this and I didn't hear him bring up that part. Why would that be the case though?
But no, he doesn't have a problem with protected classes. He has a problem with specifically trans identifications being on the protected class.
Why? Isn't that part of the protected class? What does it matter if your class is protected if people could just misgender you over and over and over and over again because I don't think that you're like that your class is like a real thing? Right.
He's saying that that's different.
How is it different?
Racism. Yeah, racism and misgendering are two different things. Do you agree with this?
They're both forms of bigotry, but I mean, obviously they're different things. That's why you have different words for them, right?
Gotcha. And they deserve different protections, right?
And they deserve different protections.
Racism.
No, I think it seems like they probably are falling under like a similar category of protections, would be my guess here.
Are you... No, I don't think the broad structure in the history of racism is like some protections do overlap, but I think like the broad structure of racism has like the equivalent of like gender misidentifying.
Why not?
Because they have like a different history. They're different things. They're different history.
Both of them are forms of discrimination against arguably protected classes, right?
Well, gotcha, but not all forms of discrimination are even bad.
Do you think it's okay? Should we be discriminating against trans people?
Depends.
On what?
What are you doing? Why are you discriminating against them?
Can you give me an example of like a good form of discrimination against trans people?
Okay, sure. So in some of like the Jubilee articles, they have like, oh, take one step forward if you're this, take one step forward if you're that. If they said like take one step forward if you're trans, you're essentially discriminating against trans people because like you kind of segregating them in a way.
Okay.
Right?
Are you being serious with this argument before we go further?
Wait, you said give me a scenario where discrimination against trans people is okay.
Do you think
Do not
having
think-
somebody step forward in an interview they agreed to do relating to whether or not they were trans, do you think that's discrimination?
What do you think discrimination is? Do you think discrimination
Discrimination
Wait, do you
is...
think-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and tell me what I think it is. Go ahead.
Wait, no, I'm saying, do you think this is just a question. I'm not saying what you think it is. Do you think discrimination is inherently bad?
Based on the way you're going to define it, probably not. There are tons of different types of discriminations. Some of them are very good. Some of them are essential for society to function. But
Nice. Okay. How do you define discrimination then?
well, usually when we're talking about the types of avoidable discrimination in the workplace, usually we're talking about people that are being like bigoted towards somebody, or people that are allowing you or not allowing you to do a certain thing, or treating you differently based on some class that shouldn't impact how they treat you. So for instance, a boss paying you less or treating you in a derogatory manner because you are a sexual identity or something, or sexual preference.
Treating someone different because of their class isn't always inherently bad, even in the workplace scenario.
Depends on the treatment, doesn't it?
True. That's what I said.
No, that's what I said. If somebody comes through and you say, I don't want you working here because you're gay, you're going to hit on all of my employees and you're disgusting and lazy, get the fuck out of here. Do you think that's an okay form of discrimination?
No.
Okay. So there are probably
Okay.
forms of discrimination that are bad that we should probably protect against legislatively. Do you agree with that?
Depends on how. Well, sure. Yeah, I do. But yeah, it definitely depends on how. Okay. So I guess. Oh man, I don't like semantic dookie. Okay.
Wait,
so
how? None of this is semantic. We're talking about fundamental points that we agree or disagree on. This isn't just semantics.
I do agree that some forms of bigotry are so bad that we definitely need protection.
Well, and we also agree, real quick, not all forms of discrimination are bigotry. So, for instance, asking somebody in a Jubilee interview to step forward if they identify as trans, we wouldn't call that bigotry.
Okay, but you didn't ask me to describe bigotry. You asked me to describe discrimination.
Okay,
That
I'm
is-
so sorry you caught me on that one, okay? When we were talking about discrimination in the context of C16, I thought we were talking about bigoted discrimination, not all forms of discrimination. Obviously, economically, we recognize that some forms of discrimination, like price discrimination, for instance, are incredibly important and good and produce good outcomes. Yes.
Okay, I'm not. Do you still feel like I'm trying to get you?
Yes. But go ahead. I caveated enough, so what's next?
No, I'm just saying we might actually agree. That's why I hate like semantic dookie, because we might actually agree. It's just we worded it in a different way. So if you were to go up to Jordan Peterson and be like, okay, this trans person is literally getting bullied to tears just because she's trans, Jordan Peterson would probably be like, maybe she does deserve, or she deserves some protection. You wouldn't find him disagreeing with that.
I don't know. What he's probably gonna fight you on is, what does the person have a right to be upset over? Well, if I don't recognize that you should be a he or a she, then it's actually overcrossing my boundaries, and it's a form of compulsive speech to make me identify you with a pronoun that I don't agree with, and I actually don't agree with that. I don't think they should have that protection. If they're driven to be mentally unstable or commit suicide, then they ought to seek therapy, blah, 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 is probably what he would say.
No, okay, that depends on like if someone's bullying you and straight up torturing
Not bullying you. Say they just misgender you over and over again. Like, oh, I don't recognize you as a he. Like, what the fuck? You have a vagina. I'm never gonna call you a he. I don't believe in trans men. Right? Jordan Peterson would probably say, well, that doesn't count as bullying. He's just professing his own beliefs. And you don't have a right to compel him to speak differently. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my interpretation is you have to be aggressive with it, or like actively seeing harm. If someone just like misgenders you once or twice, or even doesn't call you by the right pronoun, but treats you as a human, I might not be under protection. Do you agree? Or
No, if you don't call somebody the right pronoun intentionally, then you're not really treating them as a human, right? Let's say I started calling you a girl over and over again. Would you feel like I'm treating you respectfully or as a human?
I mean, I feel like slighted, but would you care if I just call you she over and over again? Like,
I personally don't, but I don't give a fuck about that kind of shit. I don't care. But other people might. For other people, especially for men, masculinity and shit is really fucking important. In fact, one of the ways that we insult other men is by calling them women. So some people might like severely care about that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. But Okay, actually, if that's a position you're going to take, I might actually side with Peterson here. If someone just misgender, like say they act like a normal human being, but just misgender you occasionally.
If they do it on accident, nobody is talking about making legislation.
Not on accident, even on purpose. Like if I was say I was in a workplace or like I was in like a classroom and my teacher just like misgenders me on purpose, but like he respects me. Like
well, he doesn't respect you.
No, I'm saying aside from that, then I wouldn't have.
Well, that's like saying that like I treat my wife like really well, except when I get drunk and beat the shit out of her. But other than that, like I treat her like super well. Why the fuck would she be upset at me? When gender identity is like a key part of like your happiness, and somebody refuses to acknowledge that over and over again, it seems kind of hard to say like, oh well, they treat you nice in every other way except for that.
Stop. You can acknowledge gender identity without calling them the right pronouns.
How? Can you demonstrate for me? I'm sorry, my small brain can't wrap myself around this concept.
Gotcha. Okay. You want to go to the girls' bathroom? Sure. You want to do things? You want to be separate with the girls instead of the boys? Sure. Because I recognize your gender identity, but I don't agree with like calling you the like pronoun that you prefer.
That's so hard for me to imagine that could ever be a real example.
I don't care. But this is an example of like you can have someone's gender identity and you can disregard their gender identity, but you can still accept their gender. Do you acknowledge this?
Can you say that one more time?
I'll just do it the opposite way. Do you think that you can disregard someone's gender even though you call them by the right pronouns? Yeah.
It would be a really... I want to say for the sake of hypothetical, you could, but it's almost an impossible position for me to imagine.
Wait, that I call you the right pronouns?
You call somebody by the right pronouns, but you don't respect their gender, or you don't see that? That's just impossible for me to imagine.
It's not impossible. Ben Shapiro said that he would call Caitlyn Jenner the right pronouns. Do you think Ben Shapiro respects Caitlyn Jenner's gender identity?
No, but that's news to me if he would. Okay. If he would, that's cool, because I've heard him in interviews in the past that he explicitly won't respect people's pronouns.
No, I can pull up multiple clips of Ben Shapiro saying like, yeah, I would call Caitlyn Jenner by her pronouns. Like, I will.
Hold on, I just want to look this up real quick. Huh? Ben Shapiro, pronouns. Pronoun.
Okay, yeah.
What?
He really... Well, wait, chat.
3 years ago, 3 weeks ago. Okay, hold on. This is 3 weeks ago. So this is, I'm not trying to find something from a long time ago. 1 second, hold on. Give me like 2 seconds.
Passed the Equality Act in the House, and Rand Paul grills a Biden nominee about whether government can overrule parents seeking to prevent term. Okay, what people on the left like to do is take edge cases, or they like to take genetic anomalies and then treat those as though this creates entire new classes of human beings. This is incorrect. It is not right. It's all ridiculous, but this is becoming new normal. So now they're trying to enshrine this into law, and this has some pretty dire ramifications for your freedoms. Everything from freedom of association, the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, the freedom of speech, all of it is going to be ground down under the boot heel of an authoritarian left that decides that basic truth should be verboten. Okay? It is a basic truth that men and women exist, and exist on the basis of biological characteristics that are objectively verifiable. That is a simple reality. If you die today, there will be people 100 years from now who will be able to look at your DNA and they will be able to tell whether you're a man or a woman, and your subjective self-identification will matter not one whit, because all you will be at that point is bones. You'll be able to know whether you are in fact a man or a woman, simply by looking at your bone structure. We do this right now in archaeology. We can tell what sex your baby is before they are born. According to the left, by the way, you can't tell somebody's actual gender until they die, and even then you can't use their biology, because your gender could switch any minute. There are people who are 45 years old who've been man all their life and have sired 7 children. And if they decide they're a woman, not only are they a woman, they were always a woman. Because not only does transgender ideology violate the boundaries of biology, it violates the boundaries of physics. It's incredible. It's a time machine. You have to erase every vestige of the idea that this person was ever a man. Right? It's not just that Bruce Jenner changed his name and became Caitlyn Jenner and had some surgeries. That is not what happened. Bruce Jenner was always Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce Jenner was always a woman, you see, while winning medals at the Olympics, which makes him the most accomplished female athlete ever, by the way. Right? So it turns out that biological men are even the best female athletes. It's incredible. But now this is going to be written into law, and you're going to be cudgeled with it, and your children will be cudgeled with it. Let's not pretend that this is anything but what it is. It's an authoritarian move by the left to cudgel everyone into line. It's an exercise of absolute raw power. That is the attempt right here. We'll get to what this actually means on a practical level in just 1 second. First, let's talk about life insurance. So the reality is, God forbid, something would happen to you, your family would not be taken care of if you didn't have life insurance. That's why every responsible adult should, in fact, have life insurance. Policy Genius can help.
Okay, do you have like something more recent that says he would respect somebody's pronouns? I'd be curious to hear this.
Yeah, I could probably cite it to you later, but like...
Okay, later. Yeah, sure. I guess like it would just be really hard for me to imagine somebody respecting somebody's pronouns but not respecting their gender change.
No. Like, I vehemently... Because it's not just one occasion. Like, it's like 5 different occasions. I'm surprised you didn't know this. That Ben Shapiro explicitly said, like, yeah, I would respect Caitlyn Jenner's pronouns.
Well, the reason why I don't remember this is because I explicitly remember Ben Shapiro being on Joe Rogan and trying to misgender somebody, but because the trans woman looks so much like a woman, he accidentally calls her when he meant to call her he, and he backs up and he intentionally misgenders her. That's my strongest association with Ben Shapiro and pronouns. So, but that was years ago, so it's possible these changes beyond that, and I'm just not aware of it. That's why I'm asking for like a more recent one. Like, that's all I'm curious about.
Yeah. Okay. So say I gave you the clip and say I was right.
People are saying that in the clip that I just listened to, fuck, I wasn't listening for his pronoun use. I was listening for his statement of pronouns. Apparently he misgendered Caitlyn Jenner the entire time.
No. He said like on a social platform he will misgender. Okay. I don't, because like he said this multiple times and I can believe you multiple clips. Just give me like a day, right?
Okay, sure. Yeah, there's not like a rush. I'm not accusing you of lying. I'm just curious. I'm not aware of it. Okay.
Say that he did. Say that this is a position that he holds.
Okay.
You would then say it's not crazy or Cutsleeve isn't making something up when he says like, someone can respect your identity but not respect your gender.
I guess it's possible, but there must be some weird shit going on in their head. I would have to hear them like explain that out. I don't understand how that would work. But I guess it's possible. I think it's possible, I guess, but I would have to hear their explanation for how they arrive at these conclusions, because it sounds really bizarre to me.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro just said like it would take too much effort to misgender. Like I don't want to like make her mad for no reason.
Okay.
So finally, we got through all that dookie, so we can say that finally you accept a position where you can misgender someone and accept their identity, and you can accept and properly gender someone and not accept their identity.
It's unfathomable to me, but I hypothetically, theoretically, I guess it's possible, but it's unfathomable to me that would play out that way in practice.
Unfathomable. Okay. I mean, I don't know how to convince you without showing you the Ben Shapiro clip, but Ben Shapiro and a lot of other people would, like, they would just say, like, it's too much effort. I don't want to make her mad. I would just, like, respect their pronouns. Even Jordan Peterson
sounds like
said,
a grifter to me then.
No, like, okay, even Jordan Peterson, like, when, like, one of his famous clips of, like, people screaming at him, they're like, if someone were to say, like, they were a she, would you respect their pronouns? He was like, sure. I wouldn't think that it would be a she. I think there's only two genders. Like, even those people, right? Like, everyone agrees. I don't know who disagrees. They would call them...
Okay, hold on. Let me try to find...
Bill C-16 purported to do nothing but extend human rights provisions to an excluded group, let's say, to transgender and non-gender binary types, and that was the federal legislation. It also made it a hate crime to discriminate or harass, essentially. So now then the question is, well, what exactly do you mean by discriminate or harass? And why exactly is that a hate crime under the criminal code? Well, there was an answer to that. The answer was, well, this bill will be interpreted in light of the policies generated by the Ontario Human Rights Commission, a very large set of policies. Now, the Ontario Human Rights Commission is a radically leftist organization. I think it's the most dangerous organization in Canada, although you could debate that. And they said all sorts of policies about how this legislation was going to be interpreted, and the federal government linked to their website to state that Bill C-16 would be interpreted in light of those guidelines. So I went and read all the policies. Well, one of the policies was that if you didn't use the preferred pronouns of a given group, that you could be charged essentially with a hate crime. And I thought, no, that's not... You're talking about transgender people. Yeah, and so there's all these pronouns that have come up. There's 70 different sets of pronouns approximately to hypothetically describe people who don't fit anywhere on the gender spectrum, which is also something that I don't really understand. I don't understand that conceptually. Like, we'll come to that. But the point is, well, okay, so now a person is compelled under Canadian law to use the pronoun of another individual's choice on pain of law. And I thought, well, no, that's not acceptable. It's one thing to put limits on what a person can't say, like say with hate speech laws, which I also don't agree with, by the way, but that's a different argument. I think it's a narrow argument. But to compel me to use a certain content when I'm formulating my thoughts or my actions under threat of legislative action, I thought, no, what's happened there is the government has introduced compelled speech legislation into the private sphere. It's never happened in the history of English common law. And so I said, there's no way I'm abiding by that. I don't care what your damn rationale is. We're compassionate. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're playing this radical collectivist left-wing game. You're trying to gain linguistic supremacy in the area of public discourse. You're doing that using compassion as a guise, and you're pulling the wool over people's eyes, and you're not going to do it with me.
If I was sitting here in front of you as a transgendered male to female or female to male, and we began the conversation, at the beginning of the conversation you stumbled and called me he or she, and I was perhaps identifying the other way around. And then if I'd said to you, please, I'd rather go by she, how would you respond to that on a personal level?
Well, it would depend on the situation, but the way I have responded to that, because I've had a number of conversations with transgender individuals...
Wait, hold on. He's finally answering this question. 1 second.
How would you respond to that on a personal level?
Well, it would depend on the situation, but the way I have responded to that, because I've had a number of conversations with transgender individuals, is that I use whatever pronoun seems to go along with the persona that they're projecting publicly. It's the simplest thing to do. Now, if you would respect their choice on an individual level. Yeah, but with a more contentious pronouns, she and her, and that sort of thing, that's a whole different issue. Because the question there is, well, exactly what is it that you're doing when you're asking me to use those words? Like, are you compelling me to play your particular ideological game, or is this actually a matter of some personal identity that's important to you? And those things are not obvious. And so, in a situation like that, the first thing I'd have to do is to try to figure out just exactly what was going on in the situation, and that's not simple. And so there would be no foregone conclusion that I would address you by.
Okay, so Peterson sounds like he would like respect their pronouns, I guess. Okay, sorry, what were you gonna say? Go.
Okay, I finally got it. There's an article. Okay. That I'm trying to find it. Okay.
Although Peterson clarified that would only be for people that are passing, basically.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Okay, here's an article. Okay. It has like transcripts of Ben Shapiro's dialogue. Okay, in this article, he says like, I will respect Caitlyn Jenner's pronouns, personal pronouns. Okay, just like not on a public stage because we're talking about gender. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh man, I'm literally trying to find it for you. He literally says this in this article. I mean,
Okay, like I said, I guess it's possible. It just sounds like really weird to me. What is the point of all this?
No.
What's the point of what we're getting at here? Sorry, let's just go to that.
okay, no, stop. Because like I know, like at this point, you're like, oh, you're skeptical. Okay, I will just read the quote. If I'm at dinner with a transgender person, I'll call them whatever they want. I don't care because that's just being polite. That's literally what he said.
Okay, cool. Then they should have no problem with the law compelling it. Then what's the next part?
No. The law compelling it is a different thing. Just, wait. How is that? That's such an odd assumption. Just because I am.
If you misgender someone over and over again intentionally, right? It shows that you're having some like fundamental disrespect for them based on some like gender or sexual thing. So why wouldn't
Wait, should
other
you outlaw disrespect?
what?
Why should you outlaw disrespect?
When it's on the foundation of like race or gender or sexual preference or familial status, yes, that's what protected classes are, right?
Okay. I don't think that level of disrespect. So like again, if someone just like misgendered me
Intentionally.
right, intentionally often, right? I don't think.
So if you were at a workplace over and over again and your boss called you Miss Cutsleeve over and over again, hey Miss, come over here, girl, over and over again, you don't think that's a little? You don't think that?
I'm pretty sure like teachers do that joke. I wouldn't say, but like I'm pretty sure something like that's happened or worse. So no, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different thing. I don't think Jordan Peterson's crazy or has a crazy take when he says like maybe that law is going a little bit too far. You're outlining just like disrespect. I wouldn't think that's crazy.
It's not just disrespect, to be clear. It's disrespect based on a protected class.
Right. But based on a protected class that he doesn't believe in.
Well, that's the whole point of protected classes, is that unfortunately, usually people don't like those protected classes. That's why they need special protections.
It's not that he doesn't like transgender people. It's that he doesn't believe in them.
I'm telling you that of course, that to say that like, well, people just don't want to respect this thing because they don't agree with this thing. That's usually why protected classes exist. Is because it's usually over a contentious topic.
I just told you that he did respect protected class. Like
no, it sounds to me like he doesn't really, or I'd have to listen to more. I would have to listen to more for Peterson because I don't know. But I know for Ben Shapiro, for instance, Ben Shapiro doesn't believe that trans people are a real thing. It sounds to me that way. So if he doesn't believe that...
Wait, stop. When you say trans people are a real thing, what does that mean? Like
he doesn't believe in like gender identity and expression. He just thinks that sex is sex and all gender should map onto sex. Otherwise you have a disorder.
No, that's not Ben Shapiro's position. He believes in sex and he believes in gender. He's talked about this.
So Ben Shapiro thinks that trans people are a legitimate category of people, that some people can just have a different gender identity from their biological sex. So these are two distinct things.
No, but that's way different from the claim you made.
That's the existence of trans people. Is that people...
Ben Shapiro, all he believes is sex and nothing else matters and anything else you have a disorder. That's like, no.
Okay,
no.
I just listened to a clip of Ben Shapiro and that's what it sounded like he was saying. And it was like 3 weeks old, so...
Okay.
Tell me what you think Ben Shapiro thinks about trans people.
He thinks that it's probably fundamentally... Actually... Hold up. He actually has like a pretty... He said, if you do the transition, and actually one of his biggest problems with Caitlyn Jenner is like, he didn't do the transition, or she didn't do the transition. That was a big problem. I actually don't know what his position on post-transition. What I can remember is like, he actually, if you're an adult and you go through the transition, he's actually pretty okay with that.
I would be
actually-
interested to hear a clip of him saying that. I would be very interested in that.
It was his most popular clip where it's like, oh, he conflates age with gender. It was on that speech. I like distinctly remember these things. You don't have to believe me. That's fine. He doesn't really make a statement on people who's already transgender. He makes a statement on people who wake up one day and said, you know what? I feel like a different gender. That's what he makes a statement on. So he's not just like sex is sex and anything else you're crazy. Like, no, that's not his position.
Okay.
Do you have any evidence that this is his position?
I just listened to him say sex is sex, and when they go back and they dig up your body and blah blah blah. That's so. But maybe he has a more fleshed out in another thing. So I don't know. I don't really care that much about particularly the Ben Shapiro thing. This is my understanding of it. But if you say it's different, maybe it is. I don't know. I don't watch a ton of Ben Shapiro. So.
Okay. Specifically, do you think it's crazy to say that maybe, gender identity shouldn't be protected by law? You can acknowledge the fact that it's bad when someone intentionally misgenders someone, but you could also say that, it might be an overreach for the government to make that banned.
I don't know. It depends on if you believe sexual identity and sexual preference should be protected as protected classes, right? Do you think that sexual, preference should be protected? Like, if somebody wants to discriminate against you because you're gay, do you think they should be allowed to do that, or?
Destiny. It
Yeah.
depends on discrimination. No one my answer. It depends on discrimination.
What type of discrimination is okay if the person is gay?
Gotcha. In a Jubilee video, if they say
No, oh my god.
Okay.
Okay, what's the next topic?
Wait, what are you trying to get me on? I don't know what this question is. Like, what are you expecting to say?
If somebody says, I don't want to hire you because you're a lazy gay person, is that type of discrimination okay?
No.
If somebody says, I don't want to hire you because you're a lazy person, is that type of discrimination okay?
If you're a lazy person? Yeah.
Okay. Why is one okay and why is one not okay?
Oh, wait, is a gay person actually lazy?
I don't know,
thought
but then I'm just giving you the stated reason of the boss. He says, you're gay, so you're going to be lazy. I don't want to hire you. And another boss just says, I think you're lazy. I'm not going to hire you. Is there a difference between these two things? Should one of these be illegal and one of these be okay?
Okay. I'm going to answer the question in a way that's going to make you frustrated, but then I'll still man your position and then I'll answer the question. Okay. One is, the fundamental difference is you're assuming someone's lazy or someone is lazy. Okay. And that's a reason to fire them. But the other is assuming someone's lazy because they're gay, which is a distinct difference because they might actually not be lazy. But in the other example, you imply that they actually are lazy. But in an argument that you probably could phrase it as is, if none of these people are lazy, is discrimination on someone being gay okay? And I would say no. But I would also think Jordan Peterson would say, if someone says oh, I'm not going to hire you because you're trans, is that okay? Jordan Peterson would also say no. You know that, right?
You're not supposed to make those decisions based on your sexual gender, any of that. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, and Jordan Peterson would agree.
I don't know. I'm not talking about Jordan Peterson. I'm just asking you your position on it. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, it's not okay.
Okay.
Okay, but right now we're debating about Jordan Peterson. And
I'm not I don't know Jordan Peterson's position. I don't want to have a long drawn out debate on what Jordan Peterson thinks. I don't know. I don't watch enough Jordan Peterson to know that.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Sure. Okay. Next topic. Okay. So this was an argument that was a pretty base argument, okay? So here's the ultimate argument on why everyone should become a centrist, okay? Okay. Or pretty close to the center. Libertarian centrist, okay? If you have a world full of right-wing conservatives, then you'll get a world of people who sexually assault people and people who are boys will be boys, that type of world. And that world is toxic. If you have a world filled with leftists, well, you already know, you've been railing against them for months, of people who will just cancel you, relentless cancel culture, relentless blue hair dyed stuff, and relentless virtue signaling. If you have a world filled with centrists, that's a world where all debate and all dialogue is welcome, all intelligent thought is welcome, the best debaters reach to the top, and like this is like the free thinking world. I think this is the closest society to which I would like to have. If there was like any angles like left wing, right wing, centrist, I definitely want the centrist society. Then I would want the right wing society. Then I would want the left wing society because left wing just sounds like cancerous. But go ahead. Is there any like response to this?
This saying that society would be like X if everybody was like this, I think is like just way too broad of a generalization to make.
Okay.
We probably need a healthy mix of people from all sides because different groups of people probably push us towards different ideas. Some ideas are okay. I'm sure there's some far left ideas that are probably pretty okay. Challenges to like the massive commodification that happens under capital, like these types of ideas are probably okay. There's probably some far right ideas that are okay, like maybe the defense of our right to own firearms or being like somewhat fiscally responsible government. Like I'm sure that there are a collection of ideas that are okay from different types of ideologies. You probably want all of them represented so we could have a big showdown in the marketplace of ideas over these ideas.
Nice. What's your favorite anime?
I don't know. It's Cowboy Bebop or Steins Gate probably.
Do you like the like remake of Steins Gate, the Steins Gate Zero?
I never watched it because I tried to watch the season 2 of Steins Gate and all the boobs were way too big and I got turned off from it immediately.
Wait, Steins Gate's your favorite anime, but you didn't finish it?
The ending and the containment of those 24 episodes was just so perfect. I didn't want to ruin it with some stupid fucking outside shit, so I just didn't watch anything else about it.
Hey, base. Okay. Zero is definitely worth the watch if you could watch it. I mean, it might ruin your perfect. It's definitely not as good, but it definitely builds on the fundamental characters and it adds like exceptional story making to the plot. So it's definitely worth a watch. But if you want like Steins Gate to stay in your 10 out of 10 Fantasyland, then it's definitely not worth the watch. Have you watched Code Geass?
Yes.
Yes. How do you feel about it?
Season 1 was pretty good. Season 2 wasn't horrible, but it kind of goes off the rails a little bit.
Actually, I thought the inverse opinion. Everyone says like R2 is the better one.
Everyone? Are you sure about that?
Well, like all the ratings, like okay, R2 is like the most popular one. Like season 1 is like the least popular one, right?
I just think I think that like the story arcs, the way they finish in season 2, I think is fine. Like the ending and everything, I think is okay. But I just think that the Geass related stuff and the God Dimension related stuff, it's really accessible in season 1, but in season 2 it feels like it gets a lot harder to follow and a little bit more crazy. It's my problem with it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, looking back on some of your debates, you have. So I'll just let you have the take on. What's your take on the incest question?
Well, it's just usually a way to explore how somebody arrives at moral answers for me, basically.
Well, what's your position on it? Is it good, bad, or what?
I don't have a position. I think it's like a neutral action. I don't care about it.
Okay. Could I take because like people are like, oh, this is like the ultimate debate question. Could I take a shot at it?
If you want to, go for it.
Okay. Okay, I'd say incest would be fundamentally wrong because not incest in itself. Like
okay, then we already agree. If you're going to start off the answer with not incest in and of itself, then chances are you're going to name some other thing, and I would agree that, yeah, that's probably wrong too. But
well, okay, how do you feel about like children, like, no, okay. But like, how do you feel about like children being in the military?
Generally, what do you mean by children? Like under 18 or under age of majority?
Under 18.
Probably against it, unless it's like a life or death situation or where the country like need to survive. I'd be against it.
I don't think children in and of itself is like, yeah, I don't think that's fundamentally wrong to put children in the military. I think it's fundamentally wrong to put people with like cognitive, like, yeah, put like people who are like cognitively limited or don't have the capability to like make independent choices. I think it's wrong to put them in the military. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that as well.
Well, no. Okay, so why is it wrong? Okay, so why is it wrong for a child to be in the military?
The same reason it'd be wrong to put somebody cognitively impaired in the military. If somebody's not capable of understanding the full consequences of what they're doing, then I don't think they can make an informed consent decision on whether or not they should join that particular thing.
Wait, okay, but you're assuming that all children are cognitively limited.
No, but I mean, like, we have to make some baseline assumption related to age because we don't have brain scan machines.
I mean, we don't with like, well, we can do, but like driving license, we paying those out at a pretty young age.
It's like 18 to get a real driver's license, I think, as far as most states that I know.
No, you can do it when you're 16.
A lot of people think it's 16, but those licenses that you get at 16 are oftentimes, it's a different class of license than you get when you're 18.
Right, but you wouldn't be you wouldn't be in favor of like handing like BB guns to like you wouldn't be in favor of any type of guns to like underage children, would you?
For BB gun, like Nerf guns is probably fine.
No, I'm saying like in the military, like you wouldn't be like say they go to like, boot camp or something. You wouldn't be in favor of that. So you're basically saying, cars are good with a, set of restrictions, but kids in the military, all of that is bad.
Military, I guess, could be fine with, like, if you, for instance, maybe if they join the military and they just like work at a desk the whole time, doing like Intel analyst or something, an Intel analyst or something, maybe, I guess.
Okay. So you're saying that it is wrong for specifically children to go into the military because there has to be a line because we don't have like, counting machines to like, test how cognitively limited they are? Is that
I don't think that
position?
generally children are in a place mentally where they can consent to engage in an activity that might cost their life. I don't think that most children are mature enough to make that decision.
Okay. So you're actually maybe I'll push back on that. The IQ limit for people into the military is 85, right?
Maybe, but I don't think that IQ in and of itself is a measure of like how mature you are in terms of understanding consequences of your actions.
Okay. Generally, I think push back on this if you're wrong because you're obviously older than I am. Do you think generally there's a correlation between like not a strong correlation, but like how smart you are to how mature you are, but not like the smarter you are, the more mature you are, but a sense that like there are some barriers where it's like if you're in this range of intelligence, you're probably not mature.
Possibly, I would consider myself to be fairly smart my entire life. I think that my my standardized test scores across like the country have always been like pretty high or very high, whether it's standardized testing or like intercompetitive testing or whatever. But I think that I've matured significantly over the past like 15 years of my life. Like, I think that I was pretty smart at 17. I think that I'm pretty smart today, but I am incredibly more mature today than I was at 17. In fact, I was probably, competitively speaking, I was probably smarter or the smartest in my life when I was 18 compared to now. Like at 18, on average, I probably would have been smarter than most other 18-year-olds. I don't know if that's the case now today, so I might have gotten dumber comparatively speaking, but I am way more mature today at 32 than I was at 17.
No, okay. When I'm referring to smart, I don't mean based off the people your age, because like then a 1-year-old could join the army in my moral system. When I mean smart, I mean based on the people around you, meaning your country.
I don't know. I don't know how to engage with this. This is hard because intelligence is a function of age as well, right? Like almost any 18-year-old is going to be smarter than almost any 6-year-old. But I'm pretty sure that IQ remains, I think, roughly stable throughout your life. Like IQ is like based around your age. It's like a person, like a child that has like a 120 IQ at like age like 11 or 12 is supposed to have roughly a 120 IQ, I believe, at age 18. I think it's supposed to be stable through your life. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be stable through your life.
Okay, here's the thing. What I'm saying is, I don't think there are fundamental people who have an IQ that are like 110, or like even if it's children, or like who have an IQ of 110, who are not mature enough to handle the army.
I don't think that IQ. I think that if you have a higher IQ, you are probably more likely to gain maturity at an earlier age. But just because you have an IQ does not necessarily make you more mature.
Gotcha. Okay, who do you think is more mature? A 16-year-old who has 120 IQ or a 23-year-old who has 85 IQ?
Depends on what their experiences are. If we're talking about conventional experiences between...
But you have to like, you know nothing else, but you have to like pay $100 to like, or like bet $100 to see who is more mature.
Okay, and then can I just ask what you mean by mature?
Mature enough to know the decision and the ramifications of going into the army.
23 versus 18. Man, I'd probably say the 18-year-old in this case, if they're that much smarter. That's a huge IQ gap.
16. Because like 18 would still be 18.
26,
Yeah, that would still be.
I would say it's 50-50 at that point. Maybe slanting towards the 23-year-old.
Gotcha. Okay. So intrinsically,
85
not,
IQ. Is that a whole standard deviation below, or is that more than that?
No, that's a whole standard deviation. That's like miles and miles. And right now in the military, 85 IQ is like the lowest. The absolute lowest you can go. But I feel like anyone with that IQ would probably be dumber than like most people in my grade, actually. So
yeah, but intelligence doesn't necessarily mean that you understand like the ramifications of an action. It just
I think
because some ramifications we learn by experience. It really depends.
Well, I do think lack of intelligence hinders your ability to be mature enough to know the world with all its within.
It could be, but all the intelligence in the world doesn't necessarily grant you experience. Like, I think I've learned a lot over the past, I think I've learned so much over the past 12 years, but I don't think it's because I have high IQ or because I'm super intelligent. I think a lot of experiences have, matured me.
Well, wait, you've learned so much, but you haven't grown any smarter?
No, I don't think so. It depends on how you
Not
define
comparative
IQ.
to your age. Not comparative to your age. Just plain smart.
I don't think that most of my gains in quote-unquote intelligence or most of my gains in or my evolutions in my positions have happened because I've gained intelligence or developed new ways to study or assimilate information or whatever. I think a lot of it has been granted via just experience and learning. But I don't think that, but it depends on how we talk about IQ or intelligence here, because I don't know how you're using it. Because just because you learn more doesn't mean that you've gained intelligence or gained IQ. That's not how those phrases are usually used or those terms are usually used.
Okay, I can grant you the fact that, just because you're smart doesn't mean you're mature, but I do think if you're 85 IQ, it might hinder your ability.
For sure. If you had somebody that was 24 and versus somebody that was 22, but the 22-year-old was a standard deviation above, I would bet on that person every time versus the 24-year-old.
Okay, so okay. So you would actually allow, a lower age, significantly lower age limit into the military because right now, not when you say significantly lower, at some age, it's going to be impossible for you to have gathered the necessary experience for you to be able to make an informed decision. I don't care how smart you are, 14 or 15, I don't think you really understand what it means to engage with your life at some level. I mean, have you read The Glass Castle? I feel like some of the people in there are
let's say you have an 18-year-old white kid who has 140 IQ, okay? Goes to school, very white, very affluent, okay? This kid's very smart compared to 14-year-old kid in the ghetto, 75, 80 IQ or whatever. Let's say that kid in the ghetto has lost 2 siblings to drug violence. He's lost 2 or 3 friends to drug violence or whatever. And then it comes time to say hey, who's ready to sign up for the military? The younger, stupider, whatever kid in the ghetto might be able to make a more informed decision on this than the older, very intelligent, very affluent person just because of the difference in life experiences here.
I actually don't think so. So if the kid that, had even though he experienced more tragedy, if he was okay. So if he was if his IQ was borderline 85 or something, I wouldn't trust him. I just wouldn't trust someone. You just can't trust someone,
That's one standard deviation below the mean. You just have to totally write him off.
No, I didn't say write him off. I said, okay, with the extremely smart kid, your ability to trust someone does go up if they're not completely under this deviation of IQ.
I don't know. I know a lot of smart kids that I wouldn't trust to make mature decisions necessarily. That sounds really rude, and now we're gonna get into you're just young, but
okay. Say I'm dumb, and then say someone else is normal. Do you think your ability to trust someone is at all dependent on any of these factors?
Jesus.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Wait. You say that again?
Okay. If I'm dumb, person A, dumb. Person B, normal. Who are you going to trust more? You know nothing else about them.
Probably the person that's not dumb. The normal person,
okay.
Sure.
Okay, so, okay. All of that dookie allotted. You just acknowledged that the lack of knowledge can hinder someone's ability to be trusted in the military. So, in the case of the person who's gone through tragedy at a young age, but isn't as smart as the other person, you just acknowledge that the lack of knowledge hinders your trust. So why wouldn't you want the person with the most knowledge? I do think there is an inherent advantage of already having to deal with tragedy, but there is also inherent disadvantage of
Yeah, of
being-
course. You have to wait. I've already said this. I don't know why you're re-saying this. Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
But just
So
because you're very
you-
intelligent doesn't necessarily grant you maturity. Maybe it just grants you the ability to gain maturity. But at certain ages, it's just impossible for you to have gained some types of maturity.
Wait, can you prove that?
Sure. For instance, like being a good roommate or being here's an example, okay? At 16, 17, if you've never been in a relationship before, you might have really high IQ and be really smart and blah, 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 but that doesn't mean you'd necessarily be a good partner in a relationship.
Sure, you could.
You could, but it doesn't necessarily mean it just because you're intelligent. I can't loot any of that. God fucking damn it.
Okay. So the point I was making here, but you're saying intelligence doesn't always mean that you're mature. Like, of course, any person in the world would agree with this. But I do think, but the statement I disagree with was you said at some levels you just can't have enough maturity. Do you have any data or facts to back this up, or is this something you just feel?
It's something I feel. I don't know if either of us could back this up with facts or data. I don't know, I don't know if there have been studies on the maturity of. I'm not sure. I mean, the only studies that I could think of will all massively favor me, but I don't think they're necessarily fair to bring up here. So, for instance, something that's really well studied is the cognitive development of the brain, and that doesn't finish until you're 25, regardless of IQ. Like kids with higher IQ don't develop that part of the.
This doesn't favor you at all. I know it might feel like it favors you, but it actually doesn't favor you at all, because some people only need to tap into some part of their brains to be as mature as someone who taps into all part of their brain.
I don't think that's how the brain works. I don't think that's true at all.
I think that, okay, wait, no, because you just agree with me. So you're just contradicting yourself at this point.
Wait,
So you
what?
don't think that some people, some people, can you agree with this statement? Your brain doesn't have to be fully functioning for you to experience a level of maturity that is more than someone who's already, that has a full functioning brain.
Theoretically, that's possible, but I'm saying on average, brain development is going to be bound to your age more than your intelligence. It's you're a 25-year-old is always going to have the advantage of a fully developed brain, regardless of IQ on either end.
Okay, so you do agree. So you're just, all right, roll back your claim that it was stupid for me to make the statement that some people don't need their brain to be fully functioning to be more mature than people who already have their fully functioning brain. For example, you already admitted this, so I don't know why you're debating this. For example, a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old kid with 120 IQ has a less developed brain than someone who's 23, but he does not need to access all parts of his brain to be more mature than that 23-year-old. You already admitted this.
Okay. What's the next topic?
Okay. Well, I guess you just can see on that one.
Yes.
Okay. How do you feel about a minimum wage?
I'm not generally in favor of, at least not a federal minimum wage. Wait, how many more of these topics do you have?
Not many. Okay. One last meme.
Yeah, one last meme, okay?
Okay. Who do you vote for in the Democratic primaries? Just
I didn't have a strong poll in the primaries. I kind of like Pete Buttigieg, I guess. But I don't know if he has the age or maturity to do it, and he's already got scandals and shit, so I don't know if I think Buttigieg would have been the best to go with in the primary. Or in the general, rather.
I think, yeah, that's I ran down most of my I do still got a couple more on my list. I'll say that am I still cool with you? Can we run this back another time, or am I banned from this channel and chat forever?
Oh, you're fine. Just let me know in the future. Maybe we'll stick to one argument, okay? Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
What a mess.